Good morning. It's 5 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories, and we begin with some sad news about a beloved Hollywood actor. Gene Hackman has died, and the details surrounding his death are pretty scant.
Gene Hackman and his wife, classical pianist Betsy Arakawa, moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico in 1991 and were often seen at the city's cultural events. Early this morning, Santa Fe County Sheriff Adan Mendoza confirmed that the 95-year-old Hackman, his 64-year-old wife, and their dog were all found dead in their home. Despite that, Mendoza says no foul play is suspected.
You brought him on my boat. Our man is down behind enemy lines.
In an acting career that spanned 4 decades, Gene Hackman won a trophy case filled with awards, including 2 Oscars. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
And we'll have more on that throughout the morning. Here in Middle Tennessee, police say a man took an axe and a match to his phone after his fiancée got curious and looked what was on it.
News 2 says 38-year-old Joshua Hamilton of Ashland City went to extreme measures after his fiancée says she found child porn images on his phone and called police. The fiancée claims Hamilton told her he was drunk and looking at porn when images of child porn popped up. Before police arrived, Hamilton allegedly burned his cell phone and chopped it with an axe and then threw it into some woods near a neighbor's yard, but police found it anyway. Hamilton was booked into the Cheatham County Jail and charged with tampering with evidence and sexual exploitation of a child. It is not believed any of the children found on the phone are from this area. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Market Numbers Report now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Here's Chuck Sievertson.
Major market indexes were mixed Wednesday. The Dow was down 187 points at closing. The S&P 500 rose 1 point. The Nasdaq gained 49 points. Shares of tech leader NVIDIA rose on anticipation of its future profits report this week. Pharmaceutical giant Eli Lilly announcing a $27 billion investment in domestic manufacturing, the largest investment by a pharmaceutical company in U.S. history. The investment expected to create about 13,000 jobs. British energy company BP announced it will cut spending on green energy initiatives by as much as $5 billion a year and invest in increasing its oil and gas production, the company aiming to boost its sagging share price. The Senate voted 56-43 to confirm Jamieson Greer to be the U.S. Trade Representative. He served in President Trump's first term. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
Stock futures this morning all pointing upward. The Dow futures are plus 98 points. NASDAQ futures are up by 135. And the S&P futures are plus 34. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Yeah, checking out all the major roadways this morning early on. Really no delays. 24 is looking good this morning. No problems inbound on 40, and 65 looks pretty clear right now. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.506, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Big day today. Apparently, we're going to see some of the Epstein files today.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, that's what Pam Bondi said last night.
Yes,
we
she
have
did.
that story in the news. Elon attends Donald Trump's first cabinet meeting, and I thought it was interesting. And I've got a lot of the relevant audio coming up in the show today as it continues to unfold. But there was one point where Trump actually said, listen, if there's anybody, and I'm paraphrasing, if there's anybody who has a problem with Elon Musk, we'll throw you out right now. So clearly, Trump, over his Senate-confirmed cabinet officials, Trump is taking the side of Elon Musk. We also have Democrats now out there saying that Doge is literally killing people. So we have all kinds of news stories for you today. But I do believe that it's going to be a big day for a lot of folks with the Epstein files, at least some of them being released. And by the way, if you'd like to check out the Daily Dan poll, find us on YouTube, and you can find us on Super Talk 99.7. Watch and subscribe as you watch the radio program this morning. And every day we do the Daily Dan poll. And today's poll is, how important are the Epstein files to you? Are they very important? Are they somewhat important? You don't care at all? Or this is a distraction? So that is part of our coverage this morning. I guess what they're saying, and I have seen so much online, varying reports and what's going to come out, what's not going to come out, when it's going to come out. So the very latest, it seems to me, is that there is going to be some of this information on the Epstein client list and the flight logs and all of that. Some will be released today. It will continue into tomorrow. FBI Director, of course, Kash Patel, he has been saying that on day one, the files would be released. And, of course, now we are some 5 weeks into the Trump administration.
So will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these sex trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past.
And that is, of course, Senator Marsha Blackburn. By the way, a big day for the senator, because she has been, as you know, and I've interviewed her countless times now on many things, including the Epstein client list. And she has been, as far as the Senate goes, she's really been on the front lines of getting this information out there. Well, now, Attorney General Pam Bondi was on Jesse Waters' show last night, and she says that, yes, we will be seeing something today.
Tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
Yeah, that was last night saying tomorrow, meaning today, we're going to see something. So let's look at some of the information that is on her desk, because apparently there's a lot. You've got the flight logs. You've got the various recordings from the island and from the plane and from his homes. You've got the accounts of victims. I'm sure there are many interviews from the people who worked on the island as well. You've got the interviews with the victims. And so there's a lot of information.
Hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information, but it's pretty sick what that man did.
Okay, well, we'll
along
look
with
for
his
that.
co-defendant.
Absolutely, and he had help. That's for
He
sure.
sure did.
So if they release the names from the flight logs, and I did mention this the other day, what if somebody took a flight but wasn't part of that whole thing? We saw that from previous releases of information. We have seen some names already released. This was back, I think, in January of 2024, about a year ago or so. You had, of course, we all know the names, right? Bill Clinton, Leonardo DiCaprio, Alan Dershowitz, Naomi Campbell, of course, Prince Andrew. Donald Trump has been named in all of this as well. But they were very... they really wanted to stress that no, all these people, just because their names were on this list and flight logs or listed in the court documents, that didn't mean that they did anything wrong. It just meant that they were in Epstein's orbit. And again, I will remind folks, just because you're named in all these legal documents, even if stuff comes out today, we'll have to see if they are actually proven that they had done something wrong, if they had done something untoward with all of these underage girls. But there is this demand that we know these names, and Pam Bondi says, yep, you know what, we're on it.
There are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims, 200. So we have, well over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information.
Yep. And so now the question is, why the delay after all these years? Well, number one is you have a lot of people who were, again, not to belabor the point, but they were involved in Epstein, maybe business-wise, maybe part of a social circle, but they had no idea what he was involved in. I mean, remember Donald Trump. Donald Trump says that he was a friend of Epstein's for years. And then eventually they drifted apart, and my own personal feeling is, and maybe I read this somewhere, I'm not sure, but my own personal feeling is that Trump perhaps heard what was going on with Epstein and decided to put that relationship, at arm's length, if you will. And maybe there's a lot of people that are like that. Alan Dershowitz has been, his name has swirled around this story for as long as it's been around. And Dershowitz is one of the leading people that is saying, release all of the information, because he will tell you, if you've listened to interviews with Dershowitz about this, he has said, I didn't do anything wrong. And he's gone through all of the different ways that he has proven that he didn't do anything wrong. And so you do have a lot of people that have been sort of captured in this whole story that may not have done anything wrong, but they were in Epstein's orbit. They were named in legal documents for whatever reason. They were on flight logs, but maybe nothing was happening on the Lolita Express that day. I don't know. You do need to make sure this isn't a witch hunt where people's lives are destroyed because they're in these documents. They're listed in these documents. And I think most people understand that. A lot of people say that, by the way, Epstein was a foreign agent. They do. They say, have you ever heard this, Joan, that he was a foreign agent?
I have
Epstein?
not heard that.
Yeah, working with Israel's Mossad. He was supposedly, this is how the story goes, that he was blackmailing prominent figures. You lure them in with, parties and sex and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Get them doing illegal, immoral things, ghastly things, sickening things, as Pam Bondi says. Then you blackmail them and you use that influence to your political advantage. Other people, by the way, say that he was CIA. So there's a lot here that we don't know about Epstein, or what happened on the plane, or what happened on the island, or what his why he was doing it. I mean, there's a number of reasons why. Clearly, number one, there's just a sickness, a sick pleasure in what he was doing, and of course, there's a lot of people that were involved in this as well. And the whole thing is obviously just gross. And if there's anybody who is on this list or in these legal documents, and you can prove that they did something wrong, they did something untoward, they participated in the abuse or the trafficking of these girls, then they absolutely need to be held accountable. And again, part of the big question in all of this is some of our allies involved in this? Important people that may be part of all of this. We all know what happened with Prince. Was it Prince Philip?
Yeah.
Prince Philip, yeah. So is any of our allies, important people in our government's orbit, wrapped up in all of this? That could be also a part of the conversation. That could be part of the reason why this has been delayed for so long. But again, big day for Senator Marsha Blackburn because she has been pushing this for a long time. So go to YouTube and if you would, take the poll, watch us on YouTube, and take the poll. How important are the Epstein files to you? Very important, somewhat important, I don't care at all, or this is a distraction. And you've got the polling up, KGB, and what are people saying so far?
Yeah, it looks like 46% say this is very important, 32% say somewhat, 0% say I don't care. We did change the last one of just like other things are important / distraction. I think that puts it in the same category, you know, and that's 21%.
Okay.
But 0% do not like say they don't care. So that, I think that's a very telling part there.
Everybody cares at least a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the bigger stories of the last decade. Has to be, right?
I can't imagine somebody wouldn't care at all.
Yeah, especially how the suspicion of his death also puts this into perspective. Like, this could have easily, like, how high does this go, you know?
Do you remember how ridiculous, real quickly, Joan and KGB, do you remember how ridiculous it was when they were trying to say that, you know, he committed suicide? But the guards, what was it? They like
they
both
left
fell
him.
asleep.
They fell asleep. They
Yeah.
both fell asleep.
He was on suicide watch, and they left him. You don't do that, especially in prison.
Right. I mean, obviously, especially knowing what this guy knows or knew at the time. The connections, all of that.
And the cameras weren't working also, if you remember that.
You're
They
right.
were also
The cameras weren't
malfunctioning.
working.
Like,
the whole thing, just ridiculous.
I remember there was a poll out, like only 29% truly believed he killed himself, like in the entire, of like all the people they polled. And that's a scary low number. Like people are like, you didn't hide this very well.
You want a 100%, you know, on one side poll. Did Epstein kill himself? Yes or no?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Do you remember? I think there was like someone like involved with the Clintons. Like they found him hanging, but with a gunshot wound to his chest as well, like a shock. Do you know who I'm talking about? You remember that?
I do. Vince Foster.
Vince Foster, yeah.
Vince Foster. Yeah.
And that was during Whitewater, right?
Correct.
That was in the 90s.
I think so, yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
how can you believe like no one just hangs himself and shoots himself in the chest with a shotgun? Like that's almost impossible.
Well, I think it is impossible.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be like, I got to make sure this happens.
Okay, now you've got me visualizing I'm hanging from a tree and I've got a gun and I'm going to shoot myself.
Not just a gun, a shotgun.
A shotgun.
Yeah,
at that.
It's not just a pistol.
So I'm hanging and I'm going to shoot myself with a shotgun.
Yeah.
I just don't see it.
Yeah, and then
Well, maybe he shot himself first, realized it wasn't working. You know, if he.
oh yeah, just bleeding from the chest. I'm gonna just go to a tree 2 doors over.
I'm gonna shoot myself in the chest, then throw a rope over a tree, and it just happens to be tied in that hanging.
Do you remember Norm Macdonald's weekend updates during that time? Oh, they were so funny. Like he was remember he went on The View and went, oh yeah, Clinton's a murderer. He didn't know that. Remember he went on The View.
Oh
saying
yeah.
that. Oh, it was
well,
hilarious.
that was when he actually. Was it that storyline or the OJ storyline? But that's one of the reasons why he got fired.
OJ was the reason because the execs were good friends with OJ.
Yep.
But the Clintons probably didn't help either.
No.
Here's a Washington Post headline. No, Donald Trump, there's nothing fishy about Vince Foster's suicide.
Oh, you can't be serious. Everybody, like, I wasn't alive back then, and I knew that was fishy. I was still in my dad, for God's sakes.
519 on Nashville's Morning News. Have we done traffic? We did not do traffic.
No. There's nothing going on.
We
anyway.
went
You can
deep
skip
down
it.
the rabbit hole.
Well, you know what? It's not really all that deep. I mean, I think I laid it out pretty well with what Pam Bondi said, what we're going to see maybe today, at some point today, maybe some point tomorrow. I don't know. What are you seeing, Joan? Are you seeing, because I saw not till tomorrow, then I saw today, then I saw somebody post on social media that the release of these documents is on hold till further notice. Now, I don't know what the truth is, but from what I can tell, there is going to be something released today. I just don't know if it's going to satisfy.
No.
And here's the other question.
So you had to parse those words that Pam Bondi used. She
Yes.
said, what did she, like some files?
Some files.
So, no, it's not going to satisfy anybody, and it's going to leave more questions. They need to release the whole darn thing. Do it.
And that was going to be my question. Will people ever be satisfied with what is released? Because there's always going to be people that are going to say, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And there's a lot of stuff that, as you know, and I just talked about some of it, a lot of this stuff is and has been swirling online for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people who will swear up and down that he was working with the CIA. There are people that will swear up and down that he was working for Israel, and so and their intelligence agencies and what have you. So, I mean, I did pretty good amount of research this morning. There's nothing proven, as far as I can tell. And listen, you folks, if I'm over my skis on this, feel free to send me whatever links you have that actually prove that he was working for either our intelligence agencies or Israel's or, any other country. If there's something that actually proves it, as opposed to just, some randos on Twitter or X saying, oh, yeah, he absolutely did. Okay, well, what proof do you have?
Yeah.
That's the problem. And so I think there's a lot of things that swirl about Jeffrey Epstein that, how when people talk about things, they just, I forget what you call it, but they talk about it so much as it is fact when it may not be fact, but the more that it's discussed, people just assume that it's true. And I don't know what's been proven or what hasn't been proven as far as Epstein working with our intelligence agencies or any other nations, but I don't see any actual proof, just a lot of people saying it happened. So, but where there's smoke, there's fire as well. So I don't know. What do you think, Joe? Do you think he was working for Israel? Do you think he was working for the CIA?
It's funny that you mentioned that. It's not something that I had ever heard. And if anything, I would say, the CIA has just been creepy for I don't even know how long, ever since, when I think about John F. Kennedy's death and, all that's been said about the CIA linked to that.
Yep.
I mean, it's been a long time that we have suspected that our own CIA is against us, works against us. So it could be.
Well, and here's the other thing, Joan, is we have found out just in the past, 8 years, just how bad the intelligence agencies and these law enforcement agencies have been at working against the American people, whether it was a duly elected president, whether it is either trying to obfuscate something that was real, like, for example, Hunter Biden's laptop, things like that.
Yeah.
We can go back to, going after Carter Page and Donald Trump's first run for office and the FISA warrants. I mean, all that stuff that we always talk about, really in the last 8 years, there has been a lot that has come into the more common social media. There's always things that were out there that people would talk about with the CIA or the FBI. That was always there, and it is always true, but it wasn't common knowledge. Now, in the last 8 years, thanks to Donald Trump, all of those things are far, far more common knowledge than before. These are no longer rabbit holes. Mm-hmm. These are just stories that people know. And people who know the stories and pay attention to the Inspector General's reports and the congressional investigations and so forth, and you either choose to look at the truth and accept it as the truth, as what the intelligence agencies did and all of that. You can either accept the truth or you can stick your head in the sand. But all of that has really come into play in the last 8 years, knowing what these various agencies within the government has done, especially against Donald Trump. So there you go. 5:24, and enough of my soapboxing. Joan Jones has the news coming up. Joan.
Yeah, one Brentwood neighbor shoots another in a bizarre and intense incident. Also, a beloved Hollywood actor has
I
died.
don't care what the scoreboard says. At the end of the game, In my book, we're going to be winners.
Yeah.
Okay?
What police are saying about Gene Hackman's death. Those stories and more coming up at 5:30
By
on
the way,
Super Talk. Yes.
I want to know what your favorite and KGB, and I'll talk about what my favorite Gene Hackman movie is.
You know, it's going to be in my last story of this upcoming newscast, and I'm going to play the soundbite from my very favorite Gene Hackman movie.
I'll see if I can find mine.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Yeah.
That and a lot more coming up on WTN.
Good morning. It is 5:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories and tense moments along Lost Hollow Drive in Brentwood yesterday when neighbors saw a man stabbing a woman outside of a home. This woman tells Channel 4 it was a frightening scene.
I see a very big, tall guy, all white dress, stabbing at a woman. And this guy was just shouting at her on top, saying, "Go back home, go back home."
Another neighbor pulled out a gun and shot that man multiple times. Well, now the police say the woman suffered multiple stab wounds, but she is expected to be okay. The man has life-threatening injuries. So far, no charges in this case. The Supreme Court stepping in overnight to grant a request from the Trump administration, pumping the brakes on the payment of billions of dollars in foreign aid.
At issue, nearly $2 billion in foreign aid payments the administration has frozen. A lower court judge ordered the government to unfreeze those payments by midnight last night. But an order from Chief Justice John Roberts has now pushed back the deadline so the justices can consider the case.
That's ABC's Nicole D'Antonio. Oscar-winning actor Gene Hackman has died, found dead in his New Mexico home along with his wife and their dog after a neighbor called police for a wellness check. Now, no cause of death here, but police are saying there was no foul play. He did play some great characters. This is one of my favorite Gene Hackman movies.
Wait! Where are you going? I was going to make espresso.
And young Frankenstein there. He was just so good. That was in 1974, by the way. Gene Hackman was 95
All right,
years old.
so KGB and I both have our little sound bites.
Oh, good.
Now, I want to do something, though. I want to play my sound bite and see if you two or the super texters can guess, because I might surprise some people, my favorite Gene Hackman movie. So I'm going to play the audio bite and see if you two can guess what my audio bite is from. And we'll include the super texters as well. That's all coming up.
Otherwise, and if you had heard anything about members of the cabinet who weren't happy,
Just for a second.
or either
Anybody unhappy with it? If you are
Yeah, still not really seeing any big delays this morning. 40 eastbound after Charlotte Pike. That may be a little bit slow this morning, touching the brakes. But really on 65, as you're making your way down to that Trinity Lane area, still looking okay this morning, and no problems on 24 headed in either. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.537, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. How are you? Welcome on in. By the way, it is Thursday, February 27th. Dan here, along with Joan Jones, KGB, Jeff Malinoff as well. So Gene Hackman dead at the age of 95. And his wife was how old, Joan? Something like 65?
I thought she was 69 years old.
Somewhere around there.
She was born in 61. So.
All right, so yeah, she's 69.
So there all kinds of theories now are abounding, right? Because the wife, the dog, and Gene Hackman all found dead in their home. Apparently I'm watching CNN, apparently there was just a wellness check done like earlier this week.
Oh, so there was something going on.
Don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So people are saying, well, it's got to be a murder-suicide. I don't know, because they say there was no foul play. You know, one of the possibilities is, and I mean, I don't know, and it really doesn't matter, but, you know, sometimes maybe there was a gas leak kind of a thing, and they were all overcome.
Yeah, so that's obviously way possible.
Yeah, I mean, that is possible. So I'm not going to jump on the whole, you know, had to be a murder-suicide. One guy is even saying, oh, his name must have been on the Epstein list. Stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Man had an incredible life, 95 years old. And by the way, I want to play my favorite Gene Hackman movie. This is a line, Gene Hackman, and I'm going to play this, and I want to know, don't say what movie it is, guys. I want to know if the super texters can guess.
Oh,
this
good.
is my favorite line from my favorite Gene Hackman movie.
We didn't ask you to fight for us. But damn it, don't fight against us. Leave us alone.
You know what that is, guys?
I think I do.
Don't say it. Don't say it. KGB. I know KGB has no idea.
Can I give initials?
Text it. No. Text it to me.
Okay.
Text it to me.
All right.
And we're going to wait for the for the delay, and then people text it in, because that is one of my favorite Gene Hackman movies. Now, your favorite Gene Hackman movie, KGB, is
The Replacements. When he was the coach, because of this last scene. Okay, so this scene is great. Basically, this is when they win the game at the end of the movie. I have his little monologue at the end of it.
When the replacement players for the Washington Sentinels left the stadium that day, there was no ticker tape parade, no endorsement deals for sneakers or soda pop or breakfast cereal. Just a locker to be cleaned out and a ride home to catch. But what they didn't know was that their lives would be changed forever, because they had been part of something great. And greatness, no matter how brief, stays with a man. Every athlete dreams of a second chance, These men lived it.
Wow. That's good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That is amazing. By the way, Joan, you're right. The Poseidon Adventure.
Oh,
I
thought you were going to let people...
My favorite. Well, people got it.
Oh, okay, good.
People definitely got it.
We didn't ask you to fight for us. But damn it, don't fight against us. Leave us alone.
One of the things I liked about Gene Hackman was, and I don't know why I relate to this, but he wasn't a good-looking man per se.
Correct, yes.
He was just, you want to talk about a dude that got by on just 100% pure talent.
Yes.
Acting talent.
Yeah, and he wasn't one of those that, he wasn't a poser. He didn't get up there and be sexiest man of the year. And, I just feel like he was in it for the acting. He really loved it.
Wasn't Poseidon Adventure before Superman, before it's like break?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'll look.
Yeah, you'll have to look.
That movie fed into my fears of drowning I couldn't watch the whole movie.
So do you want to hear what I do late at night sometimes on the weekends?
You watch Poseidon Adventure?
Yes.
Oh gosh.
But I and people who have been listening to the show for a long time know that I do this. There's certain scenes from certain movies that I will just watch over and over again, right? Mm-hmm. So Maverick, there's movies, Lord, don't tell Chris Hand. He'll say that I'm weak on China. But Maverick, there's certain scenes in Maverick that I'll watch over and over again.
So good.
I will watch when the tidal wave hits the ship on Poseidon Adventure. I will watch that scene ad nauseum. And I don't know why. I just do.
That's a sickness.
It is weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Speaking of Maverick, that scene between him and Iceman talking, that just hits you in the heartstrings.
Yes. Although that's not one of the scenes that I'm obsessed with.
I know, but it's like one, like you talk about an obsessed scene. That's like one of mine.
Yeah.
Just because because the first one is so good and this one just plays so good into the past and the present. It's just so good.
Well, Poseidon Adventure, here's the thing, is that started a lifelong interest in tidal waves.
In tidal waves, I know that's what it is.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my gosh, can that really happen? I was terrified to go on cruise ships.
Yeah.
It wasn't until many years later that I thought, I think I'm going to be okay. I can go on a cruise ship. So, and Gene Hackman. So there's a lot of people trying to figure out what in the world happened. I'm also seeing all kinds of different ages for his wife. I don't know how old she was.
I don't
Do we know?
math very well. She was 64.
Still, that's
Okay.
a 31-year difference.
Big difference, yeah.
So, yeah. But I'm looking at his filmography. I didn't know he was in Ants. Do you remember that animated movie, Ants?
No.
Mm-hmm.
He was the general.
Okay.
Which is like one of the better actual characters in the movie. He's in some good stuff that like you kind of forget.
So he retired 21 years ago.
Yeah.
It was in 2004. And I read something this morning that it was because of a warning from his doctor about his heart. And his heart couldn't take the stress.
He's stressed out.
Yeah. And so it said the straw that broke the camel's back was actually a stress test that he took in New York. The doctor advised him that his heart wasn't in the kind of shape that he should be putting it under any stress. So he decided to walk away from Hollywood. He did everything he had to do. Pretty cool.
He was a narrator for a couple of documentaries about a decade ago. But that was his last kind of active roles.
Did he have like a self-loathing kind of a thing? Because he did stress.
Yeah.
He talked about at one point, I heard Gary and Eric talking about this, where he talked about watching himself get older as he would watch himself on screen.
Yeah.
So I think at some point, because, we all are, and certainly I know this, we all are our own worst critic. So I wonder if part of his stress, if you will, was that he was a perfectionist and he didn't always like or appreciate what he did on camera. Yeah. And so he would just beat himself up. I don't know if that was part of that dynamic or not. I don't know. But in Santa Fe, and I've seen this all over YouTube and so forth, it was almost like sport where, hey, here's Gene Hackman, and he's going through the drive-thru at Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And, people, I think it was Eric, Gary, or whichever one, was talking about how they'd gone to Santa Fe recently, and all of the Uber drivers, they would say, well, Gene Hackman lives here. So it was a big deal for Santa Fe.
Yeah.
And you got to love what he did. because you have so many people that will cling to fame and cling to, whatever made them famous and so forth. And some of these folks, let's just be honest, some people hang on way too long.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
He could have worked as long as he wanted to. The man was just that good. And he chose to hang it up because of the stress. I don't know what ultimately that stress was all about. If it was just he stressed about making movies and, getting the part just right, I don't really know. But you do have to respect a man that knew when it was time to walk away, and he did. And he left Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that is so amazing is because I used to live in L.A., and so you would always see these Hollywood actors almost like everywhere you go, a lot of B-level actors and actresses and so forth. He said, I'm an A-lister. I'm going to leave Hollywood where everybody knows me and everybody loves me, and I'm going to go to Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Santa Fe, New Mexico. Like, why there?
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah?
You ever been to Santa Fe?
I've not.
Neither have I.
Okay.
But I hear it's really cool.
So I posted on my Twitter feed 2 pictures of Gene Hackman. So a really lovely black and white, terrific picture of him. And then a recent picture of him. It was last year, actually. And boy, it's just so sad to see the person he was and the person he becomes. But that's the story of all of us.
We all.
Yeah, we're all going there.
Jimmy Carter's a perfect example of that. Before he died, remember, he just looked like, I hate to say it, but he looked like a corpse before he died.
Well, I mean, it's very sad, and shame on the Carter family. Absolutely shame on the Carter family and the Democrats. What they did to Jimmy Carter was absolutely vile.
It was.
They said he voted, for goodness sake.
They said, well, what they said was, yeah, they did. They said that he voted, but they wheel him out in a wheelchair or hospital bed or whatever it is and take that big group photo with Jimmy Carter front and center. And he's clearly...
His eyes are closed with his mouth wide open.
He's near death.
Yeah.
Do you know what he looked like? He when my stepmom was within days of dying, that is what she looked like. Yeah. And when I saw Jimmy Carter's photo, that as the family was using him and exploiting him in his last days for political gain, I thought, well, that's what my stepmom looked like just days before she died. I mean, his mouth was agape. He's, he's not looking anywhere because you're right. His eyes is closed, but his face is looking up. And it was an absolutely reprehensible and vile thing when the family comes out and they say, oh, yeah, before this, he said that he was going to vote for Kamala Harris. So whatever it is that they said.
No, they said he proudly voted, and he actually made a statement, they said.
They're just vile.
Which
just
is
reprehensible and vile.
He's legitimately, people know, he was a bad president. But the thing was, he was a bad president, but he was a good person. Legitimately, a very few in politics that was a good person, and they just, butchered that, basically, what happened.
Because unfortunately, in the day that Carter died, one of the things that I said is I chose to remember Jimmy Carter, and you're right, KGB. Literally, if there's one thing that the American people agree on, it is that Joe Biden and Jimmy Carter, both Democrats, absolutely terrible presidents. However, unlike Joe Biden, Jimmy Carter was a great American. He was a great human being by and large. And so I chose to remember Jimmy Carter not as basically the guy in his dying days that was exploited by his family, mouth agape, looking up at the sky as he is basically comatose, and his family exploiting that in his final days for political gain. I chose to remember Jimmy Carter as the guy that would build homes for, the needy and all of the things that he did in his post-presidency. Joe Biden is just a vile human being, just an absolutely evil, lying, sinister, vile, corrupt, in my opinion, criminal human being.
How do you really feel about him?
I don't like Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Really? I couldn't tell.
I think I'm getting in touch with my, inner angry Dan guy here in the last couple of days, and I'm not entirely certain why it is, but
we went from Gene Hackman to this, just torch of Joe Biden.
Please tell it. You know what is the one word that you would use to describe Joe Biden? You can't keep it to just one. I mean, Joe Biden, even when he was
brain dead, is that one word?
Even when Joe Biden was not brain dead, he was corrupt and vile. Even when Joe Biden had all of his faculties, he was a reprehensible politician. And he lied about his past. He lied about, you know what, Gene Hackman, what a great guy. Let's just end this bit on a positive note.
Mississippi burning is a lot of people in the chat are saying Mississippi River he was great in.
Mississippi River?
Burning.
Mississippi burning. Okay.
Mississippi burning.
Hoosiers is, I used to live in.
The Firm.
I used to live in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And the Hoosiers, when I moved to Fort Wayne, we would watch Hoosiers and, loved that movie as well. Not a big basketball fan, but I loved Hoosiers. So just a lot, you can't say enough good things. As many bad things as there are to say about Joe Biden, there's equal number of good things to say about Gene Hackman. There you go.
That was a nice way to wrap it up.
You know what? I feel bad because I went so dark when I started going down the road of Joe Biden, and I shouldn't have. We should remember all the positive things about Gene Hackman. By the way, I've been called fake news.
How?
Already?
How is that possible?
You know what? Somebody said in my opening, I said that Donald Trump told members of his cabinet if they don't like Elon Musk, then we'll get them out of here. Somebody said, no. What Donald Trump actually said was that if there's members of his cabinet that don't like Elon Musk, then we'll kick Elon Musk out. And so I, of course, have pulled the audio up, and I have now gone away from the audio. Doggone it. I hate when I do that. So coming up in right after the 6 o'clock hour, we're going to settle. Who's right, me or the guy calling me fake news? Because everything that I'm seeing, and I don't know if you've seen it, Joe.
What's my name?
Joan.
That's a new one.
You know what?
A new one.
Joe.
Dan, there's only two sexes, and I'm not the other one.
No, you're not.
In your defense, Joe Biden is from Pennsylvania, so he could be Philly Joe.
He could be Philly Joe instead of corrupt Joe.
Even though he was in Delaware for most of his time.
He was from the northern part of Pennsylvania.
Scranton. He was from the office version of Pennsylvania.
Let's be honest. He was born in Scranton, and he used Pennsylvania. Here I go again. You guys need to pull me out of this. and he used being born in Scranton as a way to worm his way into Pennsylvania. And you'd interview people from Pennsylvania, from Scranton, and they're like, yeah, he comes here like every time he's running for office.
Yeah,
exactly. He grew up in Delaware.
Yes, he grew up in Delaware.
Next to the Spanish people and...
Oh, yeah.
The Irish people, and he had...
Every group that he was trying to suck up to, he had some sort of a connection.
Went to a deaf neighborhood, went to a blind neighborhood. He went to them all.
Crazy.
Probably you said a deaf neighborhood, a dumb neighborhood.
A blind neighborhood.
I'll say a dumb neighborhood. Any neighborhood Joe Biden is in, the intelligence level just goes down. You know what? I'm going to get in a better mood after 6. I promise you that.
Corn Pop, you do that.
Good Lord, man. 5:54. Joan, what's coming up?
What one reporter had to say about the Elon Musk cabinet meeting of yesterday. Also, some Clarksville parents win their lawsuit against the schools. When do you hear why they sued them? Those stories and more coming up at 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
5:59, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. How are you? All right, coming up, what did Elon Musk have to say as he was attending Donald Trump's first cabinet meeting in his new administration? And so a lot of people are saying, oh, watch out. There's going to be trouble in MAGA land because Elon, they say, stole the show. We'll talk about that and play you the audio as well. Also, watch us on YouTube if you would. Like and subscribe to the channel. We're on every morning, 5 to 9 a.m., except Saturday and Sunday. Now, take the Daily Dan poll if you would, and it's a really good one today, as a matter of fact. The poll is, because the Epstein files, at least some of them, are supposed to be released maybe today. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But how important are the Epstein files to you? KGB, very quickly, what are the numbers?
48% say very important, 34% say somewhat, 6% don't care, and 12% say other things are more important to worry about.
News with Joe and Jones coming up next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello there. It is now 6 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We have heard from some of our listeners on the Super Talk line this morning. 2133 telling us that traffic on 24 coming up from Murfreesboro is really terrible this morning. Well, we know why now. It's 24 westbound at the Antioch Pike overpass. There is a crash, and that's causing a lot of delay this morning. We'll have more on that and your weather coming up right after the news. Despite not being an official member of the cabinet in the Trump administration, Elon Musk's work with Doge dominated the first cabinet meeting of President Trump's second term yesterday. ABC's Mary Bruce was in the room. This was her observation.
At one point, the president sort of looked around the table and said, is anybody unhappy with Elon? And joked about it. If you are, we'll throw you out of here. And everyone sort of, awkwardly laughed.
Meantime, USAID employees have been given time slots to show up and collect their belongings. They'll get about 15 minutes to get their stuff and get out. They must also bring their own containers. General Services Administration said it'll pack up personal items that were not retrieved, and they'll send them to a warehouse to be collected at a later date. A couple of Clarksville parents have won their lawsuit against the Clarksville-Montgomery County school system, which graduated their son with a 3.4-point grade point average, despite their son not being able to read. He's dyslexic, and the judge in their case ruled the schools failed to provide a free, appropriate education under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Well, we have been following the story of a 4-year-old who was shot in the hand over the weekend. This was in Murfreesboro. U.S. Marshals arrested a man in connection with that shooting, Talik Galashaw King. But now Rutherford County police are saying that the 4-year-old grabbed King's gun and accidentally shot himself. Now, he's going to be okay. King has been jailed on reckless endangerment and tampering with evidence charges. State lawmakers are advancing legislation that would put a 10% tax on vaping products.
Supporters say the bill's aimed at protecting kids, cracking down on Chinese vape products. Critics say it's going to put vape stores out of business and harm people seeking safer alternatives to cigarettes. The new tax is predicted to raise $16.5 million in new revenue every year if it passes. The Tennessean says an estimated 400,000 people in Tennessee use vaping devices on a regular basis. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Money News brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Looking at stock futures this morning, they're all on the plus side. Dow futures up 119. The NASDAQ futures gaining 144. We're looking at the S&P futures. They're up 37 points. That's the latest news. Stick around for your traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Yeah, still dealing with that slowdown on 24 westbound. It's a crash that blocks off the right shoulder at the Antioch Pike overpass this morning, and that's causing some delays. A lot of folks looking over to see what's happening. Otherwise, on 24, it's okay, but that's a long delay. 40's fine this morning, and no big delays heading in on 65. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.606 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in to your Thursday, February 27th. Elon Musk had his first ever cabinet meeting yesterday with Donald Trump. It is the first cabinet meeting of Trump 2.0. And I think, is there a debate over what was said yesterday? Which, by the way, this was a joke. So I'm seeing different ways that people are interpreting this next statement that I'm going to play for you. And basically, it's Donald Trump, and Trump, some are reporting, some have said that Donald Trump, I'm going to put this in air quotes, threatened his cabinet by saying that if they opposed Elon Musk, he would throw them out. But I listened to the audio, and number one, clearly, this was all just nothing but a joke by Donald Trump. Other people are saying that if anybody had a problem with Elon Musk amongst his cabinet, he would throw Elon Musk out. And I think people are taking this man way too literally, because I had mentioned earlier what I thought, and I read the reports, that Trump was telling his cabinet, if you disagree with Elon, we're going to throw you out. I'm going to play the audio. Joan, you can play on this if you want. You tell me what you think the president said. Listen real close.
Mm-hmm. Just wanted to ask you that President Trump put out a Truth Social today saying that everybody in the cabinet was happy with you. I just wondered if you had heard otherwise, and if you had heard anything about members of the cabinet who weren't happy with the way things were going. And if so, what are you doing to address those any dissatisfaction?
Elon, let the cabinet speak just for a second. Anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, we'll throw him out of here.
So it sounds like he says either M or him. Now, yeah. I don't...
Throw him out of here.
Throw him out of here. So I don't know if he's talking about the cabinet or if he's talking about Elon.
Elon, let the cabinet speak just for a second. Anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, we'll throw him out of here.
Yeah, I can't tell.
So I don't know if you were listening when I was doing the news. So we had Mary Bruce, who's, a lefty journalist with a capital J, all that. And she was in the room, and she said that moment left everyone feeling uncomfortable.
What? They were laughing.
I know.
I just played you the audio twice.
Right.
People are laughing.
Hold on, I can play that audio for you if you want.
Yeah,
so let's go back to here.
Because remember, she's a journalist with a capital J.
With a capital J,
That's
yes.
exactly right.
And, she has, in the past, had many not so nice things to say about President Trump. And I think she kind of proves it here. So here we go.
At one point, the president sort of looked around the table and said, is anybody unhappy with Elon? And joked about it. If you are, we'll throw you out of here. And everyone sort of, awkwardly laughed.
Yeah.
It's not an awkward. Listen to this one more time.
Elon, let the cabinet speak just for a second. Anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, we'll throw him out of here.
Those are hearty laughs. That's not awkward at all.
And they're clapping. And that's not a golf clap. That's not a golf clap either, by the way.
Also, he said, I'll throw you out of here. President Trump didn't say, I'll throw you
That
out
is
of here.
not even close to what the president said.
Right. Listen to her again.
At one point, the president sort of looked around the table and said, is anybody unhappy with Elon? And joked about it. If you are, we'll throw you out of here. And everyone sort of, awkwardly laughed.
You know what's interesting? This is why...
That's your media, people.
That's exactly... It's our proud affiliation, ABC. We've tried to change it. Anyway, moving on. So I think this is one of the reasons why Trump is so effective when he airs these cabinet meetings.
Yeah.
Because if this cabinet meeting was simply open to reporters' interpretations, and that is her interpretation of what happened, well, then this is going to be a major, major story. But a lot of people can do what Joan, you and I just did. Here's what she reports, and this is what it really sounded like, including people that are applauding. I mean, I am listening to some of this audio, watching the video, and it seems like everybody had a great time.
Yeah.
And everybody seems to like Elon. He admitted, by the way, that he has made mistakes. And he understands that there are, and people do understand, that there are going to be mistakes made. If you'd like to talk about mistakes, we can talk about the collective mistake of Joe Biden over the last 4 years and all the mistakes that he made. And so Biden and Elon and all of these other folks, they're coming in and they're trying now to fix all of those mistakes. And it's not easy. I mean, clearly it's not easy. And so one of the big mistakes, and of course Elon is on the whole Doge thing, that is what he is doing, but there's a big story, and it involves our own Congressman Tim Burchett, who was on the air with us yesterday. One of the things that Doge obviously has uncovered is all of our funding for terrorists. And it's horrifying. I had Tim Burchett on a couple weeks ago talking about this, as a matter of fact, but he is in the news today because there is a Doge committee meeting, and he is questioning a witness over how much money through USAID that we have given to terrorists.
Mr. Roman, are you aware that we are sending $40 million a week to the Taliban?
Yes, sir.
Can you name other instances of foreign aid going to terrorist organizations?
We have assisted al-Shabaab in Somalia. There's been instances of the Hamzi network in Sudan, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Kataib al-Hezbollah, Hayat Tahrir al-Shams in Syria. Dozens of terror organizations have received indirect assistance from U.S. foreign aid.
So Joe Biden has been funding terrorism, and I know this is well-worn territory for me, folks, but there's new listeners coming in all the time, so just allow me to retrace. Biden has been funding terrorism through several different channels, right? Ignoring Donald Trump's sanctions and allowing Iran to sell oil, which helped their economy and enables Iran to fund Hamas, who then attacked Israel. Negotiating, of course, with these terrorists as well, Iran for hostages, giving them piles of cash, allowing USAID to fund these terrorist organizations. I mean, we literally paid, if you follow the dots, if you follow the money, we literally paid for Israel to be attacked by Iran/Hamas. That was us. We did that through Joe Biden. And you hear in this testimony, this isn't Congress. This isn't fake news. This isn't a conspiracy theory. These are people that are testifying in front of Congress. This is what Joe Biden did. So the question is, how did this happen? Are there not protocols in place to keep our money from ending up in the hands of terrorists? Wait till you hear that answer. It is coming up straight ahead, 6:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. Very good. Thank you. As far as your weather for today, a high of 61, sunny degrees, 49 right now at Super Talk, 89.7 WTN. So going through, I don't know if this went viral, but it certainly made its way, ricocheted around X as Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett. And he was questioning a witness about what USAID has found. And we all kind of knew this was going on, but we're finding out more and more about just how invasive and pervasive this is. where we are literally funding terrorists and terrorism through USAID. And so theoretically, there were protocols in place. Unfortunately, those protocols went by the wayside when it comes to the Biden administration. Listen close.
Let's use Gaza as our case study. $2.1 billion in American taxpayers' money to Gaza since October 7th when Hamas invaded southern Israel. USAID money was going in terms of an emergency use authorization to try to go to parties that USAID formerly had a relationship with in the Gaza Strip. They had to have been vetted by OFAC. They should have been vetted against the special designated terror list from the State Department and from other Treasury organizations. Waivers were granted because they said that there was an emergency use to have that money come in to Gaza, thereby jettisoning the usual typical screening procedures. As a result, 90% of aid that was going from the United States by way of its agents in Gaza ended up in Hamas-controlled areas. And this is ridiculous.
Unbelievable. So Biden, of course, helps pay for the attack against Israel through USAID and ignored sanctions. Then through USAID, we fund Hamas as they fight Israel, because all these protocols, which again, apparently were not working anyway, we completely ignored those protocols because this was an emergency. So Hamas attacks with our money, and then we literally feed them. And by the way, behind Congressman Burchett, you've got all of these photographs, slides, if you will, whatever, of weaponry that Hamas has used, many Chinese-made apparently, and we funded that as well. So we bought them food, we gave them weapons, we allowed them to live, we paid for them to be able to sustain Hamas as a terrorist organization after we paid for the attack against Israel through USAID. And as this was going on, conservatives were screaming about how we were running the risk of this money and the food and the water and the medical supplies and the supplies ending up in the hands of Hamas. We were saying this when this was going on in real time.
Essentially, what the U.S. assistance to Gaza did was underwrite the ability for Hamas to survive until the ceasefire was just passed a few weeks ago. There was no strategic thought for it, and there was no screening.
Seems like the emergency might have been to arm terrorists to kill civilians. Would that be accurate?
That's accurate, and even more than that, Samantha Powers, the administrator for USAID, was intent on having Israel not be able to defend itself.
To not be able to defend it.
Correct.
So you heard him about Samantha Powers. Now, she was in charge of, and I don't want to go too deep on this, but USAID, she was in charge of USAID during Biden's term. Now, remember what we just reported, that I just played for you, the audio, where this witness says that she actively worked against Israel. I want you to listen to this soundbite where she was being interviewed. This was a while ago, where she says that she wants the United States to fund a mammoth army to fight Israel in the Middle East.
And putting something online might mean alienating a domestic constituency of tremendous political and financial import. It may more crucially mean sacrificing or investing, I think more than sacrificing, literally billions of dollars not in servicing Israelis, military, but actually in investing in the new state of Palestine, in investing billions of dollars it would probably take also to support I think what will have to be a mammoth protection force.
So you just heard her say, a mammoth protection force doing whatever she can or they can to fight Israel. And this is the woman that Joe Biden decided would be a good person to be in charge of USAID. They also, by the way, in this final soundbite, they spoke about how, back to the testimony from yesterday with Tim Burchett, they also spoke about how Joe Biden actually stepped in. This is the most important soundbite. Joe Biden actually steps in and overturned legislation that would allow more transparency from this funding from USAID to these terrorist organizations. And Joe Biden stepped in and overturned it.
Yeah, and in fact, these lobbyists have come to the House and have tried to kill legislation like H.R. 160, which was meant to increase transparency in USAID's funding of overseas organizations.
Is that a current piece of legislation?
That's from the last session.
And give me that number again.
H.R. 160.
And what does it do?
It was meant to give U.S. lawmakers the ability to have higher transparency in terror financing investigations aimed at scrutinizing extremist groups.
Mr. Premack?
We had a regulation before we left in the last administration that anybody who touches money in countries where there's terrorists, those names have to go through databases, terrorist databases. That was overturned by Biden.
Overturned by Biden.
Overturned by Joe Biden. So there was legislation to demand transparency and accountability through USAID because people knew that we were funding terrorism and terrorist organizations through USAID, and Joe Biden overturned that legislation. Unbelievable. 621 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Watch us on YouTube. Take the Daily Dan poll as well. Like and subscribe if you would. And the Daily Dan poll today, we're going to see perhaps some information from the Epstein files today. I've got more on that as the show continues to unfold. I did cover it in the 5 o'clock hour. But the Daily Dan poll today on YouTube, how important are the Epstein files to you? And so, KGB, you've got the numbers up. And what do the numbers currently show?
Right now, not a lot of movement. Still 48% say very important. 32% say somewhat. I don't care, still at 6%, and other things are to worry about are at 14%.
All right, 621, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Dan Mandis here. For me, my backyard is my oasis. Now, I bet a lot of you folks feel the same way, which is why I am so glad that Save a Tree came into my life. Save a Tree can help your trees, your bushes, plants, and shrubs look amazing. Now, if they're sick, Save a Tree can nurse them back to health. And if they don't look right, Save a Tree can make them look incredible with the proper pruning. Now, Save a Tree did come over to my house, and I told them my issues with my plants and my shrubs, and they gave me some great suggestions on how to fix my crepe myrtles and my shrubs. Now, these folks at Save a Tree, they're actual arborists who can do wonders for your front and backyard, or they can make your lawn look amazing and weed-free. They can also treat yellow leaves and diseased shrubs, and they can help you bring those trees back to life. See how beautiful your yard can be with Save a Tree. Now, set up your evaluation. Find them online, saveatree.com. Spelling is important here, folks. SAVATREE, saveatree.com. You can also simply dial pound 250 on your smart device and say the keyword Save a Tree. That's pound 250, keyword Save a Tree. It is 623 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Joan Jones has the news coming up at 6:30. Joan.
Well, Tennessee may be on its way to a constitutional amendment over the conditions of bail. Also, a showdown over the governor's seat is shaping up. Those stories coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
625 Nashville's Morning News. Sell your home with the guaranteed offer from my friends at Mark Spain Real Estate. Receive the strongest cash offer in the industry. You're going to save both time and make the most money. Dan Mandis here. Now, with the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, you can skip the hassle of getting your home ready to sell. Receive an all-cash offer and close in as little as 21 days. There's no showings, no open houses, and no stress. Now, one of their clients, Jerry, he said we needed to move quickly, and we were worried the process would be lengthy and we'd have to spend a lot of money on repairs. But Mark Spain Real Estate, he says, got us an offer in just 3 days, and it was over the asking price. Jerry says it was amazing. Friends, selling your home is a big decision. Who you work with matters. As the most experienced real estate team in the industry, you can trust my friends at Mark Spain Real Estate to sell your home fast and for maximum profit. Find out what your guaranteed offer would be on your home. There is no obligation. That guaranteed cash offer you can get at 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD, or you can find them online anytime, markspain.com, and start packing. .628 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I want to play one more very quick soundbite from Elon Musk. By the way, Matthew Hurt is going to be joining us at 6:36. Got all kinds of things to talk to Matthew about, our grassroots political analyst. But one of the things, as Elon Musk was attending and speaking in Trump's cabinet meeting, and I think that tells you how important the work that Elon Musk is doing. This is Elon saying, listen, I'm not perfect.
And I should say, we will make mistakes. We won't be perfect. But when we make a mistake, we'll fix it very quickly. So, for example, with USAID, one of the things we accidentally canceled very briefly was Ebola, Ebola prevention. I think we all want Ebola prevention. So we restored the Ebola prevention immediately, and there was no interruption. But we do need to move quickly if we're to achieve a $1 trillion deficit reduction in financial year 2026. It requires saving $4 billion per day, every day, from now through the end of September.
All right, so we'll see if we can do it. Jury's still out. I got to tell you, though, I think they're doing great work. I was talking to somebody the other day, a conservative, who was poo-pooing, dismissing the work of Doge. I'll talk about that as well as the program continues to unfold. 6:30, news is now on WTN.
Good morning. It is now 6:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Traffic and weather coming up in just a moment here. President Trump is about to flex his art of the deal with Ukraine's president. Volodymyr Zelensky will visit the White House on Friday.
President Trump announcing that he and Ukraine's President Zelensky will meet face-to-face on Friday to sign what he called a very big agreement. The outline of the agreement establishing a reconstruction investment fund, which would call for Ukraine to share its mineral wealth as a payback for past U.S. aid.
ABC's Martha Raddatz there. Now, President Trump said Ukraine has no expectation to join NATO, and he'll try as hard as he can to get as much land back as possible from Russia. A proposed constitutional amendment that would allow Tennessee judges to deny bail to defendants charged with the most violent crimes has cleared the House and Senate Judiciary Committees. It would mean that anybody charged with second-degree murder or aggravated rape of a child, those kind of defendants would have to stay in jail while their case plays out. That resolution would need a two-thirds approval before it could be added to the November ballot for voters to consider. A political showdown shaping up. Yesterday, Tennessee Congressman John Rose announced that he'll throw his hat into the ring to become governor next year. News 2's Elisheva Wembley on the statement Rose released yesterday.
The congressman told Republican voters in Williamson County today, quote, "While I'm so excited to serve and be part of implementing President Trump's conservative vision for America, I am convinced my best days are ahead and that the best opportunity I have to serve Tennessee is in a different role."
Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn has also expressed an interest in running for governor next year. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 632, Nashville's Morning News. And my friends at DT McCall's, listen, if you need a gun safe, this is the place to go because right now still gun safes are sales tax free at DT McCall's. You know, they are the largest Liberty Safe dealer in the state of Tennessee. They've got that free delivery. They've got that free setup as well. Now, other places going to charge you $500 at least for delivery and setup in bigger models, $300 in smaller models, but not at DT McCall's. They are always offering you the best deals. DT McCall & Sons, they deliver every safe for free every time, period. No setup charge either. 5 locations across Middle Tennessee, Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, Lafayette, Franklin. Always online. Find them online. Get more information on these great deals. DTMcCalls.com. That's DTMcCalls.com.
Okay, the jam up has begun on 65 and 24 at that merge near Trinity Lane. Also got an accident on westbound 24 right at the Antioch overpass, and the right shoulder is blocked off there, and that's causing quite a delay on 24 this morning. So careful as you're traveling in. You may need some extra time there. 40 westbound, a crash that blocks the right shoulder right before Hermitage Avenue, and that's exit 212. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 635 on WTN. Pole barns. You need a pole barn in your life. And my friends at Stoltzko, they can help you. They are the premier pole barn builders in the state of Tennessee. Now, what can you use a pole barn for? Well, number one, it's going to increase the value of your land. But number two, you can use it as a garage, an event space, an equestrian building. You can live in it. We call those barn dominiums. But if you need a pole barn, if you need one of these amazingly built structures, Stoltzko is the place to do it. Pole barns from Stoltzko, they are flexible. They are built really well and will stand the test of time. You could also, by the way, plan ahead and build that retirement home. So call my friends at Stoltzko. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. That phone number is 615-522-5992, 615-622-5992. You can also find them on Instagram or Facebook, STOLTZCO, Stoltzko.com. That's Stoltzko.com. 636, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk, 89.7 WTN. Welcome on in. It is Thursday, February 27th. Dan Mandis here indeed, along with Joan Jones, KGB. Jeff Malinoff is producing, and Matthew Hurt is joining us. I'm assuming, Matthew, you're in Virginia today?
Well, I'm in Virginia for about another 3 hours before I head to Nashville for the weekend.
All right. As folks, if you listen to the show, you know that Matthew is from Middle Tennessee and one of my favorite guests. All right, Matthew, let's talk a little bit about Elon Musk and his appearance yesterday in the cabinet meeting. I want to play a quick audio bite where Elon is talking about how Trump has put together the best cabinet ever.
President Trump has put together, I think, the best cabinet ever. Literally. So, I do not give false praise. This is an incredible group of people. I don't think such a talented team has actually ever been assembled. I think it's literally the best cabinet that the country has ever had, and I think the company should be incredibly appreciative of the people in this room.
So let me ask you, Matthew, how significant is it that Elon Musk was in this cabinet meeting? And he said a lot of things. There's a lot to discuss, but just give me a broad brush. What do you think?
You know, I think it is so important. As we saw on the campaign trail, Donald Trump took Elon Musk with him. He has made headlines week after week with these Doge efforts. And these are efforts that are going to be embedded in each of these federal departments. So for the members of the cabinet to have face time, to interact, to provide criticism and support and other updates about what's going on directly to Elon Musk, this is significant. And Dan, just to let your listeners know, I was in a meeting with the White House yesterday, and this topic came up. We talked about just how the cabinet is firing on all cylinders, how they're getting good people into the places they need to be, and how they're implementing some of the reforms that are coming from the Musk operation, but also other reforms that we would see enacted in business and in the private sector.
You know, one of the things that is happening clearly is that you do have the media, and there was an interview with Musk and Trump with Sean Hannity where there is this discussion of how the media is trying to drive a wedge between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. I thought this was interesting from The Hill. One of the headlines, one of their bullet points from this cabinet meeting, Musk steals the spotlight. I don't know if he stole the spotlight, but if he did, number one, it seems to me like that's a headline that would raise the ire of Donald Trump, because this is a man that does like to be in the spotlight. However, Trump is giving the spotlight to Elon Musk because he's finding incredible things.
You're absolutely right. This is, I think, a media manufactured situation that they're trying to drive this wedge. I would be concerned if we started seeing Donald Trump at events like this where he didn't bring Elon Musk. But Elon Musk was on stage in the campaign trail. Donald Trump has promoted him. This was a significant part of the campaign message, and it is no surprise that Musk was in the cabinet meeting yesterday, and that he continues to be in meetings with Donald Trump and by Donald Trump's side, because again, this is such a significant part of the Trump agenda. So I'm trying to ignore those headlines, but clearly they want Washington D.C. to be a daytime soap opera to create this friction between Musk and President Trump, where I don't think there is any.
Matthew Hurt joining us. And Matthew, you do live in Arlington. You spend a lot of time between Washington, D.C. area and Middle Tennessee. How much are people panicking about the sweeping workforce cuts that Donald Trump has been talking about? One of the headlines yesterday, Donald Trump has warned the federal government, get ready because cuts are coming.
Well, the Arlington County Democrats had a meeting on Tuesday night, and I'm the Arlington County GOP chairman, and my counterparts, the Democrats, had a meeting on Tuesday night. They had about 200 members, which is only about 50 more people than actually show up to their regular monthly meetings. They've got a very robust operation. But the local media said it was a huge turnout and people are freaking out. Everyone they quoted in the article is still employed. I emailed my members on Monday just to see if there were any Republicans who were concerned about being impacted by these cuts. And I got two responses out of an email list that went out to about 12,000 people. One person was a retiree who was just generally concerned, and one was a defense contractor who didn't like the commute back to the office. I think a lot of this is played up. Are there real concerns about employment and the ability to make the mortgage? Yes, and I'm trying to assess that in Arlington, but I just don't see it yet.
One of the things I was talking to a fellow Republican, and I'll call him a Republican, and one of the things that he was trying to point out, and it was a bit of a spirited conversation, was he was trying to sort of dismiss the savings that we're seeing under Doge. And one of the things that some are saying that are trying to dismiss Elon Musk and Doge is that we're not really seeing, I'm going to accentuate the word really, we're not really seeing any savings because this money has already been, allotted by Congress, and it's been, given to the various agencies, and basically it's already been spent. And so that's something that some people are saying even on our side. And my counter to that is, well, you have the EPA and Lee Zeldin. They're trying to, in one of many examples, trying to claw that money back. It goes to NGOs, and then NGOs will, spend it on whatever. And so we've seen instances where we get in there and we see that this money has been allotted, and we are trying to, and that's actually a DC term, I guess, claw that back, bring that money back. But he's also canceled contracts. They're getting ready to, if not already, been cutting jobs. But for that to be utilized as a talking point by our side or their side or the other side seems to be, at least to me, rather myopic in nature, very short-sighted. You know what I mean?
Yes, and there are two so important points to make to counter this argument. One, cutting these contracts, changing the spending habits creates a different culture. So what we actually get is long-term, a more thoughtful way to appropriate funds through the various federal departments. But two, and this is very important for your listeners, a lot of these spending decisions actually have to be voted on by Congress. And so if the House doesn't pass these Doge proposals and the Senate doesn't approve them, then we don't see a lot of these savings at all. And so to the first point is we're changing the culture. Elon Musk and his team are changing the culture in government, which will change spending habits for the long term. But in the short term, we have to hold our members of Congress and our senators accountable because the American people voted for this. And so we've got a lot of Republicans in the Senate who don't vote for these kinds of spending cuts, and it's time for your listeners to pick up the phone and call their senators to make sure they're voting for these cuts.
Well, and yesterday I had not one but two Congress people on, Scott Desjardins and Tim Burchett. As you no doubt know, obviously, the House of Representatives, they passed a budget, $4.5 trillion in tax cuts, of course, extending the Trump tax cuts. But what they also did was they raised the debt ceiling, which is exactly what Donald Trump wanted. This is controversial amongst conservatives because there's a lot of folks that will scream about the raising of the debt ceiling, but at the same time, we got an extension of the Trump tax cuts. I'm going to delve into that a little bit, but I got to check the traffic first. 6:45, time to check the roads on WTN. Weather today, a high of 61, sunny skies, right now 49 at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matthew Hurt, our grassroots political commentator and analyst, is with us on the Newsmaker Hotline. So, Matthew, good and bad, I guess, within what the House did yesterday, raising the debt ceiling, but also extending the Trump tax cuts. Talk a little bit about, and I know that this has to go back to the Senate, everybody's got to agree, then it goes to Trump. But talk to me about how you feel the House did yesterday.
You know, I really appreciate people like Thomas Massie. I think the conscious of fiscal conservatives, and he put out a very, I think, thoughtful statement on it. I think that, it's going to take a lot to turn this ship around. And tax cuts, what the left will argue is that tax cuts actually cost the American taxpayer. And what that assumes is that your money doesn't belong to you, and then it first must pass through Washington before you get some of it back. And so I never, tax cuts are always a good thing. They stimulate the economy. They put more money in the pockets of the American people. They give you guys the decision on what you want to do with your funds. Raising the debt ceiling, I'm a little concerned about that. But like I said, I think it's going to take a minute to turn things around and get us back on the right track. And what I hope is where we're going to hit a wall is in the Senate, where many Republican senators are not up for re-election in 2026. Maybe they're up in 28 or 30, and they do not feel nearly as beholden to the Trump voters who sent them to Washington as they will in a few years. And so we will see quite a bit of frustration on the Senate side when we're trying to get some of these things done.
It's going to be interesting. All right, I want to play a soundbite for you. I don't know if you've heard this yet, but Tim Walz says that America is being stolen by fascists and Nazis. This was a speech amongst friends.
I see the pundits on TV. What's wrong with the Democratic Party? What's wrong is our country's being stolen by fascists and Nazis, and we're trying to do all we can to try and do it.
So there you have it. They're just not getting it.
I don't think that the fascist Nazi label is landing anymore. I was actually just called a Nazi, I think, for the first time a couple of weeks ago. But
really? You got to step it up,
time.
Man. I've been called all those things for like years. So I say all of that jokingly, of course.
But all of this, none of this is landing. The American people are still supportive of the Trump agenda on immigration, on the economy, on foreign policy. The polls show that all demographics, most demographics, age-wise, are still fairly supportive. This is what the American people want to see, and this is just another, last-ditch effort by the left to insult their way into policy-making majority, and that isn't going to work anymore.
Well, and here's the crazy thing is I take two things from that audio bite. Number one, obviously, he's calling Donald Trump and conservatives fascists and Nazis. That is obvious. But number two, does this mean that he's an election denier? Because he said that America is being stolen. So is he saying that 2024 there is a stolen election? I mean, if I want to start, nicking pits here, I could make that case.
Yeah, this is, and there are plenty of people who are still in denial. I think one of the wildest things that I think the Washington Free Beacon found a couple of weeks ago was that Joe Biden had given $2 billion to Stacey Abrams, a certified election denier from Georgia. And so the Democratic Party is still in disarray. In Northern Virginia, they're trying to rally around federal workers, but most people are saying, this is outrageous. What is happening with Elon Musk and Donald Trump is, on the whole, it's a net positive thing, and we want to see where this goes.
Well, and the thing about Elon Musk, and he admitted it, folks. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to fix the mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. If you want to start comparing mistakes, let's look at the last 4 years of Joe Biden compared to what Elon Musk has accomplished, and also the mistakes. And one last thing that I would say, too, is that when you have people that, as you and I spoke about earlier, they're trying to dismiss or, poo-poo what Elon Musk is accomplishing, let's also remember that a big part of this is awareness. People need to be aware of what the Democrats stand for. A lot of this happened under Joe Biden's watch. So whether it's $1 billion, $2 billion, $10 billion, $55 billion, whatever is saved, that's all fine, well, and good. But to me, awareness is worth its weight in gold.
Dan, these budget line items have been available to the public for years. We've been able to see them for a long time, but the awareness that Elon Musk and people like Data Republican on Twitter have raised to make the case has been truly illuminating, and your listeners and millions of others are clued in and educated about it.
Thank you, Matthew Hurt. I hope you feel better. I know that you lost your voice. You've kind of sort of found it. Are you feeling better?
Plenty of honey lemon tea and a lot of rest, but I appreciate it.
Listen, I know this stuff called throat coat, and it does a lot of good. It's got slippery elm. You want me to, like, send you some?
Oh, my gosh.
What?
I'll have to swing by the studio.
All right, see you later. Thank you. Oh,
Feel
by the way,
better.
how can people find you on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter at Matthew Hurt, MattheWHurtt.
Thank you. See you later. It's a problem with me offering my slippery elm to people?
Couldn't go one interview without
Right.
selling the throat coat, huh?
I'm surprised you don't wear an overcoat and you pull out one side of the overcoat and you've got all the slippery elm varieties and you
Yes.
offer them
in
to
a
people.
back alley somewhere.
Yeah.
I got your fix.
Listen, I can't go full on slippery elm, okay? I'm just saying that it sounded like he could use some.
Yeah.
And it has worked for me. It works for me every morning. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
You know, I feel like I'm being judged right now. I do.
Dan, we always judge you.
That we call you a pusher isn't enough for you to you feel like you're being judged. Yeah.
All right, moving right along. 6:51 on Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Dan Mandis here. You know, it is so amazing to be able to see without glasses thanks to my buddy Dr. Horn and Vision for Life. Now, I needed corrective surgery to treat my cataracts, and I researched all the local ophthalmologists. One guy kept showing up as Nashville's best. Dr. Horn and Vision for Life. Now, they've been doing this for 20 years now, 20 years of helping folks see with 20/20 vision or better. Vision for Life has thousands of positive reviews, and they've been around for decades. Now, Dr. Horn took the time, and this is one of the things I really want you to know, is that he is going to sit down and he is going to answer all your questions just like he did for me. You're not going to feel rushed. They're not going to rush you through because they want to make sure that you have all the information you need to make the right decision. For me and for thousands of others over the years, the right decision was Dr. Horn. It doesn't hurt. The recovery time is really quick, and I don't need any glasses moving forward. Now, 4 weeks after the procedure, I am at 20/20 vision, 100% satisfied with Dr. Horn. My only regret is that I didn't do this sooner. So check him out today, 615-436-2020. As always, tell him Dan Mandis told you to reach out. That number one more time, 615-436-2020. You can find them online anytime, visionforlife.com, 652. And Joan Jones has the news at 7.
And coming up, some evidence that the Pentagon is ready to move on transgender service members. That's coming up at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
6:57, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. All right, listen, Joan.
Yes.
KGB.
Yes.
We got to sell this thing on March 4th.
Oh, gotcha.
Dan, Chris, Chad, Matt, Brian, Joan, KGB, we're all going to be there. And we want you to be there as well. Again, March 4th. We really are celebrating. Matt's finally going to get a darn haircut. It's all going to happen at the Nashville Palace, and it's going to be a live broadcast. What we're doing is we're celebrating Donald Trump's victory. And I got to tell you, there's a lot to celebrate here with his first 5 or by then 6 weeks in office. And so then we're all going to watch the State of the Union, the Nashville Palace. We've done events there before. It is a great facility. And we're all just going to go there and have a lot of fun. Do you know what my favorite thing is about, these kind of events is talking to folks. And you get to meet people. By the way, Joan, here's what you can look forward to.
Okay, I can't wait because this is my first one.
Me too.
Somebody's going to come up to you guys and they're going to say, hey, I'm 1313.
Yeah.
The super texters.
Yeah.
They'll say, hey, I'm whatever, 1313. And it's, I, of course, when that happens, it's like a blank stare because we get so many. But there are some that do stand out. 4702, of course, is my hater. 1313 is really cool. Some other folks as well. We just heard from Jerry at 8880 defending my use of Slippery Elm. She says, I'm with Dan on this one. Jerry says, I've been drinking it for 20 years.
You know how to get people to come to the event.
How's that?
Throw a coat for everybody. Just throw it into the crowd.
Sure.
Just grab a chunk and just throw it into the crowd.
I could be like a guitar player who throws picks into the crowd, but it'll be my throat coat.
Yeah. Or Oprah. You get a throat coat. Get a throat coat.
Sure. I'm sure that's going to bring a lot of folks in. Murphy Show is going to get. Now remember, if we sell out, he's going to get a buzz cut. I don't think he's going to do that.
You think he'll back out? No, we can't say that.
No, I don't think we're going to sell 726 tickets.
Oh.
However,
wow,
we could get close. You never know.
Prove him wrong, people. Prove him wrong.
Yes. Anyway, go to 997WTN.com. And you know what? You want to meet Joan Jones or KGB in person?
And my husband, who's expecting to be called hun, babe, doll.
That's exactly
That's for me. I'm going to come all that.
That's exactly
Sweetheart.
right.
Yeah.
And if you have no idea what Joan's talking about, go listen to the 8:35 Crisscross yesterday where we talked about just that. It is 7 o'clock on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning now, 7 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Got a big old backup on 24 this morning. It's from a previous accident, and it's just the delays are from Smyrna all the way into Nashville this morning, so you'll probably need extra time there. Also got a crash on 40 eastbound, the westbound side, 40 east, the westbound off-ramp to 40 downtown. So it's exit 213 there. There's a crash, and that off-ramp is partially blocked off. We'll keep an eye on it, bring you back to the traffic again and weather right after the news. The Pentagon moving to disqualify transgender service members from the military within 30 days. That revelation comes at a court filing from a lawsuit by 6 transgender service members. They're challenging the Trump administration's order that says the federal government recognizes only 2 sexes. It also says that anybody who suffers from gender dysphoria will be fired. The National Institutes of Health estimates that there are 8,000 transgender people on active duty. Well, here in Middle Tennessee, police say a man took an axe and a match to his phone after his fiancée got curious to look what was on that phone.
Joshua Hamilton of Ashland City went to extreme measures after his fiancée says she found child porn images on his phone and called police. The fiancée claims Hamilton told her he was drunk and looking at porn when images of child porn popped up. Before police arrived, Hamilton allegedly burned his cell phone and chopped it with an axe and then threw it into some woods near a neighbor's yard, but police found it anyway. Hamilton was booked into the Cheatham County Jail and charged with tampering with evidence and sexual exploitation of a child. It is not believed any of the children found on the phone are from this area. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
In a Brentwood neighborhood, police were called to the scene of a man who had been stabbing a woman outside a home on Lost Hollow Road. News 2's Alicia Wembley picks it up from there.
Now she's recovering in the hospital. We're told a neighbor nearby tried to stop the stabbing by pulling a gun on the man. The neighbor then fired at the man with the knife multiple times.
The man who was shot was taken into surgery. He is said, though, to have life-threatening injuries. Police are still investigating here, but no charges so far. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
Wednesday trading yielded mixed results, with the Dow Jones falling 188 points to land at 43,433. The Nasdaq Composite closed higher by 0.25%. The S&P broke a 4-day losing streak, but not by much. The index rose a fraction. Instacart shares took the biggest hit in company history Wednesday, plunging 12%. The grocery delivery service had posted disappointing fourth-quarter financial results and a lackluster outlook for the rest of the year. Economists are trying to read the tea leaves from the first cabinet meeting of the second Trump administration. Trump mentioned tariffs during that meeting on
Okay, got an accident this morning. It's on 40 eastbound. It's right on the westbound off-ramp to exit 40 downtown. So it's exit 213 of 40 East, where there's a crash, and that exit ramp this morning jammed up with just one exit lane. Crash on Bell Road, east of Brookview Estates Drive this morning. Police say that's pretty jammed up as well. Briley Parkway westbound before Gallatin Pike, a crash that blocks off the right lane. And an earlier accident on 24 has things a mess this morning all the way from Laverne, make that from Smyrna. So it's that exit ramp there at Smyrna all the way up into Nashville. So that may take some extra time this morning. Schedule some extra time in. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.707 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here, along with Joan Jones, KGB, Jeff Malinoff as well. Joan, have you ever been fired?
Yeah.
I have too.
Yeah, it's radio. I mean, we all kind of, it's a badge of honor. Yeah.
Yep, it's a rite of passage. So when I was fired, and I'm going someplace with this. So when I was fired, Colorado Springs, and I was hauled in. This is literally the way it worked. I got hauled into a conference room I was told that my position was being eliminated and I had to vacate the building immediately.
Oh, don't you love that?
Whole thing took like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was not even allowed to go back to my desk.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, my keys are like literally on my desk. They had to go get my keys. That's how, I don't know what, like if they thought maybe I had a firearm on my desk. I don't know.
I know.
But they went and they got me my my lunch pail.
They perp walked you?
And they perp walked me to the door.
With security and everything?
No security. And so, although they may have had, I've talked before about, and I'm not gonna say where this was. But it wasn't here. We let somebody go. We were so worried this dude was going to go bat crap crazy. We had an armed undercover officer that was on the scene when we let the guy go. That's how worried we were when we were going to let this guy go. And this was years ago. So when you got fired, again, so I had like 5 minutes. The second time when I basically made the decision that I was going to come here, and I notified them that I was going to be coming to Nashville, again, I was perp walked. I was literally shown the door. This time, though, I kind of knew it was coming, and I grabbed my keys. But that whole thing took me maybe, when they walked into my office, 3 minutes, escorted out.
Yep.
Now, when you were fired, how long did it take between when you were notified and they perp walked you out the door?
It was a good 3 minutes, yeah. Same thing. Joan, we want to talk to you after the show as soon as you hear that.
When you hear that, man,
Yeah.
you know.
And so you go in and they say, it's done, you're over, get out of here. And they start walking toward the door. And it's like, no, but and they're like, yeah, we'll box it up and send it to you. But,
yep.
I can't get in my car. So, yeah, you're going to, go get it for me now. And they did. And then the general manager actually walked me to the door.
So for you, 3 minutes. For me, it was like, I don't know what I said, 3, 4 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever it was.
I think I know where you're going with this.
This is the headline from CNN.
Yeah.
USAID employees given 15 minutes.
What?
To pack up and leave their office. 15 minutes? That's a long time in firing terms, in firing time.
But the beauty of that story is that they have to schedule the time, that 15 minutes. They have to answer an email and say, "Oh, I'll take that 15-minute slot."
Oh, interesting.
And then once they get there, they have 15 minutes. They have to bring their own boxes to pack up their stuff.
Yep.
And then if anything is left that somebody hasn't come to pick up, they're going to box it up and put it into a warehouse. General Services will do that. And they can schedule a time to come to General Services to pick through their stuff.
Listen, if you work for USAID and you haven't packed up your stuff yet, you better start, because that's what's going on.
They weren't working there anyway.
Yeah, that's a great point, Joan. A lot of these people were not working at the office, or working, generally speaking. So, yeah, I mean, I saw the headline and it just made me laugh, because there is such a huge, massive disconnect between what is going on in the federal government, USAID, and the private sector, or as we would like to say, the real world. Because in the real world, you are fired and they walk you from your office, the boss's office, or a conference room, and they walk you straight out the door. Whole thing takes maybe a couple of minutes. So 15 minutes, oh, please. And here's the other thing when you talk about this is, and I'm not seeing it in the news today, but in the last couple of days, I featured audio of people who have stories about the rampant waste, fraud, and abuse at the federal level. So you still have this notion that big bad Elon Musk and Donald Trump are firing poor federal workers. Well, the point is that there does come a time in companies all across the company, in all kinds of different types of work, finances, broadcasting, whatever, legal, and new bosses come in and you get let go. That's just the way that it works. And it really sucks. It does. But in this case, with the problems that we have in Washington, D.C., this is what they need to do. And so part of the storyline with Elon Musk, they're analyzing his moves at Doge, and they're analyzing the federal government. One of the things that's interesting about the whole email saga, is that is a move that corporations will make, or people who go into corporations and they need to fix it like really, really fast. So they will. They'll do things like, tell me what you did last week, and if you don't answer, then you're going to be fired. They do that because they're trying to turn around a company very, very, very quickly. And so for Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they are under the gun. I mean, they want to fix America, and they need to do it very quickly. And there's a lot of things in their way. There's judges that are in their way. There's some Republicans that are going to be in their way. Every single Democrat is in their way as well. So they see this as a very quick turnaround job, which is what you see in the private sector. People will come in. A new CEO will come in, and their job is to fix it fast. And this is one of the ways that they do it, by firing a lot of people, sending these kinds of emails, allowing people to show their worth and prove their worth to the new managers. All of these things, in my opinion, are great. Because to hear Elon Musk tell it and to hear other people tell it, we are really close to just, as far as a nation goes, with the $36 trillion in debt, the service on that debt, we are close to imploding. And we need to fix this right now. Meantime, you've got the Democrats, and they're doing everything they possibly can to not only demonize Donald Trump, demonize Elon Musk, demonize conservatives, as you heard from Tim Walz, calling us Nazis and fascists and all that other kind of stuff. That's all fine. We've got a country to save. Wait till you hear how Scott Jennings answered the Democrats and their resistance on CNN. That is coming up next. It is 7:15. Time to check the roads. $7:15 on WTN. As far as your weather goes, a high today of 61 and sunny, 49 now at Super Talk. So Scott Jennings is on CNN, and they've got some woman on there. I don't know who she is or was, but all of these wailing Democrats, they all look and sound the same to me. Annoying. And so she's on there, and she's complaining about all the things that the Republicans want to do, and she's crying about it. And Jennings says, you know, I've got to jump in here.
We're seeing that Americans now are looking forward to perhaps a recession.
Can I respond to some of this? I've sat here patiently for this long speech. So it seems to me that Democrats are taking a three-pronged approach at attacking Donald Trump. One is openly rooting for the failure of the United States by wish-casting a recession, which is just an insane political strategy. Number two, wanting to pin their entire political future on keeping government as large or larger than it is now. And number three, continuing to claim that mass deportations or that getting the border under control is somehow a bad policy idea for the United States. I wholeheartedly hope that Maria is appointed to run the Democratic midterm strategy, because if you're rooting for a recession, for illegal immigration, and for a larger government, you're going to take a bath next November.
See, this is a problem, because none of that is true, Scott. You know,
I just repeated back to you what you said, and I don't know why you don't agree with it. Those are everything you just
sweetheart.
said.
No, honey, I did not say that I'm rooting for a recession. Economists are the ones who are saying that a recession is coming, because Donald Trump has done nothing about it.
Get your pom-poms. Keep rooting for American failure. It served you well last November.
You know, I love how she calls him sweetheart and honey, or whatever it is that she called him. Can you imagine if he did that to her? That's number one, obviously the double standard. But it is true. When you are, as far as the Democrats go, and you've got this whole Doge thing going on, when you look at Maxine Waters and her ilk and the Democrats, and the fact that they are openly rooting, I'm gonna frame this another way. If you are openly rooting against Doge, well, then what you're doing is you're rooting against America being safe, secure, financially secure, That's what you're rooting against. Scott Jennings is absolutely right. I haven't done traffic yet, have I? 7:50. Have I done traffic? Help me where I'm at. I don't even know.
You've done traffic. You're
Did
good.
I do traffic? What in the world?
God, you're scaring me there.
No,
Is it time for Slippery Elm?
Yeah.
No, I'm really into the topic, and I don't exactly know why, but whatever. Anyway, 7:18 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I do like what Scott Jennings has to say, and I do believe that the Democrats are openly rooting against Doge. And if you're openly rooting against Doge and Elon Musk, then really what you're doing is you're rooting for the downfall of America. Can I play some audio from Jasmine Crockett? It's almost like I want to do this Jasmine Crockett update every single day. But I wonder if she has a point. I know the point she's trying to make. So you have all of these Democrats that are screaming about Republicans, and there's this, you know how, Joan, there will be sort of like a catchphrase or a question that the Democrats will ask you or force you to answer so that they'll make you look like whatever it is.
Yes.
Do Black Lives Matter? You know, remember that whole thing?
Yes.
So, and they're always like, it's a yes or no question, right? We've talked about that ad nauseum. So now you have the Democrats, and they're apparently, what they're doing is they're asking Republicans if Russia invaded Ukraine. Now, I believe what's going on is that Donald Trump and Republicans are trying to negotiate the end of a bloodbath that has cost billions of dollars and thousands, if not over 1 million lives. I have no idea what the death toll is. And so what they're trying to do, what the Democrats are trying to do, speaking of rooting against, what they're trying to do is they're trying to drive a wedge as Donald Trump is trying to negotiate peace between Russia and Ukraine. That's what Trump is trying to do. Democrats are keep pushing this narrative about how Republicans refuse to say whether or not Russia invaded Ukraine. This is Jasmine Crockett.
Instead, we're pushing conspiracy theories, and some of them are killing people. It's the same thing that we have coming out of Doge. It's the reason that people are dying. It's the reason that farmers are losing their farms, because we continue to peddle conspiracy theories.
Did she just say that Doge is killing people? She did. That's what she said. She
Play
said
it again.
I completely missed that part of this audio because it wasn't my point.
Instead, we're pushing conspiracy theories, and some of them are killing people. It's the same thing that we have coming out of Doge. It's the reason that people are dying.
Doge is the reason people are dying. Wow.
It's the reason that farmers are losing their farms, because we continue to peddle conspiracy theories. It is time for us to say, Mr. President, guess what? Russia invaded Ukraine. Can we at least agree on that one?
Why is she? Why is she yelling? Everybody knows that Russia invaded Ukraine. If Donald Trump isn't openly, constantly talking about that, it's because he is trying to negotiate peace in that region. And so if Jasmine Crockett, in her oh so eloquent way, is screaming about Donald Trump not openly, constantly reminding the world that Russia invaded Ukraine, well, it's because he's trying to stop the bloodshed. And that might be too big of a concept for Jasmine Crockett's little teeny tiny brain to be able to understand, but that's what's going on.
Facts matter. Y'all, this is literally potentially putting us into an international crisis. We may be heading towards the next world war.
Isn't he trying to stop the next world war? Like that, like listen to the absurdity of what she's saying. She's saying this could lead us into the next world war. No, what he's trying to do is stop the next world war. I'm pretty sure I'm not wrong on this.
Because we have a president that wants to pal around with Putin and wants to do everything to make him feel good, including lying about who invaded who.
Whatever. You know what? Trump is doing what he had. There is also such a thing as keeping your enemies close, right? Frenemies, keeping your enemies close. Donald Trump is doing whatever he needs to do to, and I don't even know the story of Donald Trump refusing to say that Russia invaded Ukraine. I don't know what that story is. But for me, if he's trying to negotiate peace between Russia and Ukraine to save billions of dollars, and the other thing is getting that agreement with Zelensky to get $500 billion into America's economy, paying us back for all the money that we've spent with Ukraine on this war, then I'm all for it. And Jasmine Crockett, P-Brain Crockett, she's concerned about this notion that Doge is killing people and Donald Trump won't say that Putin invaded Ukraine. It's like, whatever. If that's where you want to go, bless your heart. 723 on Nashville's Morning News. Zero res. Listen, there's been a lot of snow. There's been a lot of rain. It's been really muddy. And a lot of that stuff ends up getting tracked into your home. You know, Zero Res is the company that I use in my house every few months to clean my carpet. Now, I used to worry about the chemicals that carpet cleaning companies used on my carpets, and that is why I started using Zero Res years ago. Now, they clean your carpets with powered water, no harsh chemicals, no soap, and no residue. It is safe for my kids and pets, and yes, that is why I use Zero Res. Now, the science behind Zero Res and their water cleaning agents is much healthier than using those soaps and detergents that those other companies use. That is, my friends, the Zero Res difference. And right now, a great deal for listeners to my show. For the month of February, 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for $109. One more time. 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for $109, a great deal. $50 off of air duct cleaning as well. Restrictions may apply. Call them for the Dan deal. That phone number is 615-535-9376, 615-535-9376. You can always find them online anytime. ZeroResNashville.com, ZeroResNashville.com. 724 quickly. Joan Jones has the news.
Yeah, Dan, the Supreme Court stepped in and they ruled in favor of the Trump administration last night. We'll tell you what they said. That's coming up at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Christy O'Brien.
726, Dan Mandis here. Listen, make 2025 the year that you get active again. If you've been sidelined with chronic back, neck, and knee pain, check out my friends at the Wellness Institute of Nashville and Dr. Kevin Mitchell. I've been a client of his for over 10 years. I have never felt better, and they've got a great new deal going on right now. The Wellness Institute of Nashville, they are offering the Big 47 offer in honor of Donald Trump, our 47th president of the United States. Listen to this. 47% off spinal decompression. This is a great deal from a great guy, Dr. Kevin Mitchell. They do utilize the latest high-tech equipment in their state-of-the-art facility to provide effective non-surgical solutions to your chronic back, neck, and knee pain. Call them today. As always, tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009. You can always find them online. It is painisbad.com to take advantage of the Big 47 offer. 47% off non-surgical spinal decompression. And I put my seal of approval on that deal. $7:29, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 89.7 WTN. Okay. Big segment between 7:35 and 8 o'clock. Big day for a lot of folks because it would appear that the Epstein list or some of these Epstein files may be released today. And one Tennessee lawmaker has now jumped into the fray. And we're not talking about Marsha Blackburn. Details straight ahead. 615-737-9986. The Super Text line is open, and the news starts now.
Good morning, 7:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Got traffic and weather coming up. Stick around. A portion of I-40 in North Carolina to the Tennessee state line is officially set to reopen to traffic on Saturday. One lane will be available in each direction, only 35 miles an hour through that area, and it's because the lanes are so narrow. DOT officials say expect delays there. It's still unclear how long it'll take to completely repair and reopen the eastbound lanes of I-40 that collapsed into the Pigeon River below during Hurricane Helene flooding. Well, the Supreme Court stepping in overnight to grant a request from the Trump administration. It pumped the brakes on the payment of billions of dollars in foreign aid.
At issue, nearly $2 billion in foreign aid payments the administration has frozen. A lower court judge ordered the government to unfreeze those payments by midnight last night. But an order from Chief Justice John Roberts has now pushed back the deadline so the justices can consider the case.
That's ABC's Nicole D'Antonio. Oscar-winning actor Gene Hackman has died, found dead in his New Mexico home along with his wife and their dog after a neighbor called police for a wellness check. Now, no cause of death here, but police are saying there was no foul play. He played some great characters, this one being one of my favorites.
Wait! Where are you going? I was going to make espresso.
Oh, that was in Young Frankenstein. That was 1974. Gene Hackman was 95 years old. Stock futures this morning all pointing upward. We've got the Dow futures up 103, NASDAQ futures gaining 180, S&P futures are plus 37. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather still to come. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Jones. 7:32, Nashville's Morning News. You know, the weather in Middle Tennessee can get crazy. in a moment, which is why you need a backup home standby generator from my friends at the Generator Supercenter. Now, they are the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. You can get a free quote and get peace of mind when you have one installed. Now, the Generator Supercenter does feature expert installation and 24-hour monitoring. They're not going to leave you in the dark, and yes, financing is available. 615-879-1952, 615-879-1952, Generator Supercenter of Nashville.com.
It's a crash on Bell Road east of Brookview Estates Drive this morning that's slowing things down. Some delays on 24 on the eastbound side heading in this morning from Jolton on down. And then you've got the delays, the typical volume delays on at the area of 24 and 65 where it merges together. 24 is looking better this morning after an earlier accident, but still slow going. That's just a lot of volume there from Smyrna on up. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 735, Dan Mandis here. You know, I've been telling you for years about USS, United Structural Systems. They are experts in waterproofing, concrete leveling, and foundation repair. This is a great company. They've helped me several times with my home, and that is why I proudly endorse USS. I'm one of 30,000 satisfied customers, as a matter of fact. And listen to this recent review on Google. Guy says USS was highly professional. The crew was phenomenal from start to finish. They treated his home and if they were working on their own. He gives USS 5 stars all the way. USS, again, a great company. They will, because that's what I noticed. They came to my house and they treated it like it was their own. United Structural Systems, they're not going to charge you for any unnecessary repairs, and you're not going to pay a dime until the work is done and you are a satisfied customer. And they can help you with basement and crawl space waterproofing, basement wall stabilization, and foundation repair. We guarantee our best. Call USS. That phone number, tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855. USSTN.com.
So will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these sex trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past.
Senator Marsha Blackburn, Kash Patel as well. Today might be the day that we actually see some names, some files, some logs, maybe more legal documents, documents related to Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein. Now that, again, Marsha Blackburn, she's been at the forefront in the Senate of trying to get this information released because it all goes back down to child trafficking. Well, now Attorney General Pam Bondi, she was on Jesse Waters' show last night, and yes, she did say that we could be seeing something as early as today.
Tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
So she did say some Epstein information released. A lot of people want all of it released. And so we have reports. I mean, it's been an interesting morning with Epstein because I woke up and I had 3 different storylines. Number one is that the Epstein files had been parked till further notice. There was another one that said that they would be released today. Yet another one that says, well, they're going to be released tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know if there's been anything that has come out that has been definitive one way or another. I mean, that's Attorney General Pam Bondi herself. She's got the files on her desk. And so she says at some point today, we'll have to wait and see. But look at all the information that she does have on her desk, Pam Bondi. I mean, you've got the flight logs. You've got the various recordings from the island, from his homes. You know, his homes had all kinds of cameras and recording devices, etc. You've got the accounts of victims. So I'm sure also that there are interviews from the people who worked at the island and the people that knew Jeffrey Epstein. So there's a lot of information there. There's a lot of information out there. And Pam Bondi, it's up to her as to when it gets released.
Hopefully tomorrow is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information. But it's pretty sick what that man did.
Okay, well, we'll
along
look
with
for
his
that.
co-defendant.
Absolutely, and he had help. That's for
He
sure.
sure did.
Yeah, absolutely. So if they really, and I talked about this yesterday. But if they release names from the flight logs or legal documents, whatever, I'm going to say the same thing I've said before. What if somebody took a flight? Trump. Trump had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. It doesn't mean that he did anything wrong. And so that, I think, is part of the concern is you've got all of this documentation. And you don't want to destroy somebody's life. You don't want to destroy somebody's career if they just had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, but you weren't part of all the creepy stuff that was going on out there on Epstein Island. You got Bill Clinton. Remember back from January of 2024. Names from previous lists have come out. Bill Clinton, Alan Dershowitz, Naomi Campbell. I think Hillary was on the list, wasn't she? She was on Epstein Island, too, I think, at one point. Naomi Campbell, I think I said Alan Dershowitz. Of course, Prince Andrew, his name has been linked to Jeffrey Epstein as well. And yeah, Donald Trump has been named in all of this. But again, remember, and they took great pains to say this before when previous information has been released, that just because you're named in all of this and all of these legal documents doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. So there is that aspect to this story. But if you were part of this whole sex trafficking, sex ring with underage girls thing, then you need to be held accountable. You deserve to go to prison for a long time. And I don't care how long it's been. But there is the demand that we know these names have got to be released. A lot of people want these names released. A lot of people want these legal documents released, the complete flight logs, etc. Pam Bondi, she says that she's on it.
There are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have, well over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information.
So why the delay after all these years? Well, you just heard her talking about Pam Bondi, talking about the victims. You do need to make sure that this isn't a witch hunt where, again, people's lives are destroyed because their names are on this list or these documents, but there's not any proof that they actually did anything wrong. And a lot of people, and I've talked about this before, a lot of people say that Jeffrey Epstein was working as a foreign agent, working with Israel's Mossad. Maybe he was blackmailing prominent figures. And so that's part of this discussion as well, is, okay, maybe the reason why the Epstein list, I'm just going to say the Epstein list, is taking so long is because major figures with some of our allies across the world may be involved in this. You know, Epstein, he would lure people in. He would get them doing illegal, immoral, and sickening and ghastly things. He would be able to tape it. Then he could blackmail them. Others say, by the way, that he was not working for Israel, but he was actually working for the CIA. Now, I don't know which one it is, if any. There's a lot of people online that will absolutely pound their fist on the table and say he was working for the CIA. Don't you know? And maybe he was. I haven't seen any proof. Maybe the proof is out there. If there is proof, feel free to send me the link. There's been a lot written about it. Rolling Stone had a big article on this a while ago. A lot of folks have written about the possibility that he was working for our government or another government as some sort of a foreign agent. Again, don't know. But that may be part of the hiccup. If one of our major allies, one of our a figure in one of the nations that we're friends with across the world might be involved in all of this. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But apparently, at some point today, maybe at some point tomorrow, we might be seeing some of the Epstein files. By the way, watch us on YouTube, Daily Dan Poll, and it is there. Watch us on YouTube, like and subscribe, help a brother out. And the other question is, the Daily Dan Poll question is, how important are the Epstein file story to you? And KGB, what do the numbers look like?
Well, they haven't really moved. 47% still say very important. 34% say somewhat important. 8% do not care. And 11% say it's important, but there's other things to worry about.
All right. And it is important, but I am telling you, there are a lot of things that we need to worry about these days. By the way, Tennessee Congressman is stepping into all of this, and what Andy Ogles is doing is straight ahead. This is a story, I believe, that just broke this morning. That is straight ahead. WTN, time to check the roads.
Accident east of Brookview Estates Drive. Use caution. No problems coming in on 24 or 65. No unusual delays on 40 or 440. We're looking good on 840. I'm Christy O'Brien.
Very good. As far as your weather today, it looks like we're going to have a high of 61 under sunny skies. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles has now apparently introduced, according to Fox Nashville, the Pedo Act. It's what it says, Fox Nashville. So I hate reading to the audience, but you folks, I hate reading to you folks, but I just got this. Thank you, Aaron, for sending this to me. Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles is ramping up efforts to unseal documents related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Ogles is also drafting new legislation aimed at cracking down on child predators. Now, it doesn't matter which way you look at it. You can never be too hard on these pedophiles, child sex traffickers and all that. You can never, those people need to be locked up, thrown away the key, at the very least. The proposed bill, called the Pedo Act, seeks to strengthen penalties for individuals involved in child exploitation and close loopholes in federal oversight of child sex crimes. Ogles has shared a letter with U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi outlining his push to release the remaining Epstein files, many of which have been sealed for years. The lack of transparency has led to growing speculation about, as the story goes, about who may have been involved in Epstein's network. Supporters argue that unsealing the documents could provide long overdue accountability, while critics question the timing and motivation behind the initiative. Isn't that weird? I mean, that is a very strange sentence. And this is not on Fox 17, but it is a bizarre sentence, right? Critics question the timing and motivation behind the initiative. Is there ever a bad time to go after pedophiles? Fox 17? I'd ask that question. And again, I'm not going after Fox 17. It just seems a little weird. What's the motivation behind the initiative? To go after pedophiles. And let's be honest, if you were involved in the Jeffrey Epstein pedophile ring, then odds are you like him young and you could be doing the same thing now. That felt awkward to say, but I'm telling you the truth. I mean, right? Isn't this the whole point, to bring accountability? And if one of these pedophiles that was involved in Epstein's sex ring, somebody could still be doing that kind of a thing. So the timing is, there's never a bad time to go after pedophiles, and the motivation behind the initiative to stop the pedophiles. That's what you're trying to do. Bondi announcing on Wednesday that the Department of Justice will release some Epstein-related information, they say Thursday, which is today, including flight logs, names, and what she describes as a lot of information. So we'll have to see what happens. So I guess we're on Epstein watch as far as the files.
I was about to say, it's a little late for that.
Little late. That other Epstein watch didn't work out too well for Epstein.
Oh.
Moving right along. Joan, what do you think? What's the over-under? Think we're going to see something today?
I do. I believe Pam Bondi when she says it. However, I don't think anybody's going to be happy about it.
Nope.
Because we're not going to see everything. And if we don't see everything, you start putting pieces together and then you pull information from another source. And next thing you know, you've got rumors and innuendo filling the void. It's never a good thing. It's just not a good thing.
And here's the other thing, Joan, and you're right, is that nobody's going to be happy, because people will also say, well, you're covering this up.
Yeah.
You're covering up the fact that he worked for the CIA or he worked for the Israeli intelligence agencies. Well, that hasn't been proven. But enough people have said this that people assume that it's a fact when it actually just hasn't been proven. Just enough people say it, so other folks will say it was a fact. I don't know whether or not he worked for the CIA or any of these other entities across the world. Here's what I do know is that what he did was incredibly creepy, and if there's people that partook in that kind of a thing, they need to go to jail. And there's always going to be an accusation of a cover-up. Always going to be an accusation of a cover-up. They could release every piece of paper related to this. There's always going to be accusations of a cover-up, because there's a lot of things that are out there that are just innuendo, accusations, and so forth. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Really looking forward to it, though. Take the poll, and I'm looking forward to this. It would be really cool if they could release something before the end of my show.
Do you want me to call somebody and see if we can get that to happen?
Could you work on that?
Yeah.
Get Blackburn on the phone.
Tell Pam Bondi or anybody else, yes, do it before 9 so that I have some content.
I was just thinking that I need to follow Pam Bondi on social media.
Oh, she's great on social media.
Is she?
Yeah, she's awesome.
See, now I got to do it. Pam
All right, it is 7:51 on Super Talk 99.7. WTN, Dan Mandis here. And listen, we're all getting older, of course, and so many of us we're not where we want to be. Now, we can eat right, we can exercise, but the reality is that sometimes we need a little help. And my friends at Contours in Cool Springs, they are here to help both men and women lose body fat and so much more. Listen, it's warm today. What's the weather going to be like? A high of 61? It's going to be sunny. Warmer weather is coming, folks. And before you know it, you're going to be trying to get into that bathing suit. Contours in Cool Springs, they can help you fit into that bathing suit and look a whole lot better. Their ultra slim body contouring guarantees that you are going to lose 2 inches or that first treatment is absolutely free. It is non-invasive, doesn't hurt, and the results are instant. I've gone through the process, and yes, indeed, it does work. So check them out today, Contours of Cool Springs. Their website, contoursllc.com. That's Contours, CONTOURS, LLC, contoursllc.com. Call them, tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out, 615-236-9960. They're going to help you. They're going to help you get bathing suit ready, 615-236-9960, contoursllc.com. $7:56. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 1082 Jones says that, hey, Dan, you seem very passionate about the Jeffrey Epstein topic. Are you on the list? Come on, man.
Did you run in those circles, Dan?
No.
I didn't think so.
Interesting.
Hey,
denial right away.
Can we talk about this Tennessee man suing the Clarksville Montgomery County school system? He graduated with a 3.4 GPA.
Yep.
And he had the inability to read. There was a movie called Teachers with Nick Nolte many years ago. It was actually about this. Now, they graduated this kid, 3.4 GPA, and he didn't know how to read, and now he's suing. from what I can tell, he doesn't want a bunch of money. What he actually wants is 888 hours of compensatory education in the form of 5 sessions per week at 1 hour per session. I think that's what the parents, and I think that's what the judge actually agreed to.
So the deal with this kid?
He cheated.
No, he's dyslexic.
Yes, he's dyslexic.
Yeah.
And he cheated.
You're right. He used AI
Yeah.
to write his papers for him and stuff.
So here's my question. He was dyslexic, all right? So that sucks for him. But listen to this. To write a paper, for example, they talk about how this guy, William, would first dictate his topic into a document using speech-to-text software. He would then paste the written words into an AI software like ChatGPT. Next, the AI software would generate a paper on that topic, which William would paste back into his own document. Finally, William would run that paper through another software program like Grammarly so that it reflected an appropriate writing style. So he cheated.
Wow.
And here's the other thing that I would ask is that the parents, because he didn't even know how to spell or write his own name. The parents, when he was in 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 7th grade, 9th grade, 12th grade, they didn't notice that their kid couldn't read. They didn't notice that their kid couldn't spell his own name. So, bad on the school system.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the parents? And this could set a very dangerous precedent for school districts because moving forward, if they graduate somebody and they can't read or write, which we know is happening all across America, then this could open up school districts to lawsuits. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're absolutely right. What the judge said in this case, though, was that he didn't get a free, appropriate education under the Americans with Disabilities Act because he has dyslexia. So it's a very odd case that it had gone on that long without anybody saying, hey, my kid doesn't know how to read.
That's what I don't get.
Crazy.
That is what I don't get. All right, got a lot more straight ahead. It's Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is now 8 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We have a problem this morning on westbound 40. It's at Hermitage Avenue, exit 212. It's a crash. The right lane is blocked off. That's certainly going to slow things down. Stick around. We'll keep our eye on it and bring you more in traffic and weather right after the news. Millions of federal workers are bracing for large-scale layoffs as the Trump administration is ordering agencies to move ahead with restructuring efforts. Here's Rachel Scott from ABC.
All federal agencies to submit plans for large-scale layoffs and restructuring by March 13th.
We're cutting down government. We're cutting down the size of government. We have to. We're bloated. We're sloppy.
Thousands of probationary workers have already been fired. The president saying the Environmental Protection Agency could cut 65% from its workforce.
Now, department heads are also been directed to plan for relocating outside of Washington, D.C. to areas of the country that are less costly. We have been following the story of a 4-year-old who was shot in the hand over the weekend in Murfreesboro, and U.S. Marshals arrested a man in connection to that shooting, Talik Galashaw King. But now Rutherford County Police are saying that 4-year-old actually grabbed King's gun and accidentally shot himself. Now, he is going to be okay. King, however, has been jailed on reckless endangerment and tampering with evidence charges. State lawmakers are advancing legislation to put a 10% tax on vaping products.
Supporters say the bill's aimed at protecting kids, cracking down on Chinese vape products. Critics say it's going to put vape stores out of business and harm people seeking safer alternatives to cigarettes. The new tax is predicted to raise $16.5 million in new revenue every year if it passes. The Tennessean says an estimated 400,000 people in Tennessee use vaping devices on a regular basis. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Well, here's how it sounded on the campus of Barnard College in Manhattan for several hours last night. Protesters with keffiyehs over their heads and masks on their face storming an academic building and assaulting an employee. That employee actually had to be hospitalized. No arrest here, and these protesters threatened they're going to be back at noon today. Stock futures this morning turning lower. The Dow futures are now minus 141. NASDAQ futures, however, still up by 121. S&P futures are gaining 16. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Okay, it's an accident this morning still blocking the right lane on 40 westbound just before Hermitage Avenue, exit 212. Watch out there. Also, traveling in on 24 this morning, there are delays that start at Sam Ridley Parkway. Pretty heavy, too, all the way into Nashville this morning. And things are looking slow as well at the merge there of 65 and 24 as you're heading in. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.805 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. You know what's interesting about that last story?
Oh, the Barnard College in Manhattan?
No, actually, the kid who was dyslexic.
Oh, yeah.
Is that, although we can talk about that too, because those people are nuts. But the story about the now adult, and he is dyslexic. He graduated with a 3.4 from Clarksville Montgomery schools, but he didn't know how to read. He didn't even know how to sign his name. And now there's a lawsuit, and they want, the judge, I guess, says 888 hours of specific dyslexic kind of teaching for him to basically teach him how to read and get the education that he should have gotten for years at Clarksville Montgomery Middle School. But one of the things that I said was that, you know, it sounds to me like this kid cheated to get his way through school. So I'm going to tell you the method to my madness. I copied and pasted this exact portion of my monologue into my notes because I wanted to make sure I didn't screw this up. So this sounds to me like he's cheating. It sounds to me, Joan, like what he did, what this kid did, is he basically, if you've got a report due on the Civil War, for example, you can go to ChatGPT or whatever the AI technology, whatever it is, and you can say, something about write me a report on the Civil War, and it'll spit something out. Then you can take it and you can put it into another program, and it'll adapt to, if the kid was in 8th grade, an 8th grade writing style or whatever. I mean, that's how kids do it these days, from what I understand. So this is exactly what the report says. Now, you tell me if you think this is cheating. To write a paper, for example, William, this kid, would first dictate his topic into a document using speech-to-text software. Dictate the topic into a document using speech-to-text software. He would then paste the written words into an AI software like ChatGPT. Next, the AI software would generate a paper on that topic. It would generate a paper based on that topic, which William would then paste back into his own document. Finally, William would run that paper through another software program like Grammarly so that it reflected an appropriate writing style, the ruling states. Now, that sounds to me like he's not writing the paper. He's using all of these other programs to write the paper for him and then conceal it through Grammarly so that it reflected whatever this quote-unquote appropriate writing style is. It sounds to me like he cheated. Now, other people are saying that's not cheating, that's genius. Here's the deal, friends. That's actually not genius. This is how kids are cheating these days. Right? I mean, am I wrong on that, Joan?
No, and in fact, this is like a tutorial for how to do it. So,
oh, sorry.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't be going
You know
there.
what? You even gave the website names.
Yeah, right. So, but you're not to blame because kids are going to figure this out anyway. That kid was really smart, despite the fact that he couldn't read. Smart enough to be able to do it, right? So kids are going to figure out how to do this. The problem is that teaching needs to find its way to revamp, and teachers need to be on to this. Parents need to be on to this.
My thing is, I'm sorry. I know that everybody wants to throw the school district under the bus. There's room under that bus for the parents too. Because again, this guy already graduated, air quotes, with a 3.4 GPA, and he doesn't know how to read or write because he's dyslexic. And how did the parents not know this? I mean, do you know, I don't know if it said in the story, did he have an IEP?
It does not mention that in the story.
So,
to what I've read so far.
Anyway, whatever. So, people are saying this is a genius way to cheat.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I guess, but this is what kids are doing. I mean, KGB, you're closer to this generation than anybody. Can you talk a little bit about how you cheated your way through college?
Well, I didn't.
I'm just kidding.
However, we didn't have that back then. We didn't have AI.
It's been about 10 years for you, right?
Yeah,
Since
I
you were in high
graduated in
school?
2018.
Do you remember, Joan, when...
Cliff Notes.
Well, so did you ever...
That's true. I actually bought Cliff Note books off Amazon to help me with books and stuff.
What are Cliff Notes?
So basically, instead of actually reading the book itself, Cliff Notes was a smaller book that gave you main points of it, so you don't really have to go through
A distillation of the story.
Yeah, basically a
Short.
Wikipedia article, if you will, of the story.
How is it I didn't know about that?
Are you kidding me? You really don't know Cliff Notes?
No.
He wasn't. What year were you in
same
school?
time as Joan. Joan, what year did you graduate?
1982.
That,
All right,
that
I'm
pause
older than
is
you, okay?
loud. That was a loud silence.
It was because I didn't know if I wanted to acknowledge that I graduated in 86.
Oh.
All right, so I'm a little older than you.
That's okay, Joan.
Yeah.
It's no problem.
So you should still know about Cliff Notes. Like everybody knew about Cliff
Well,
Notes.
Joan, let me ask you a question. Was it hard when you were in school to use the stone in the thing to wrap the carve into the tablet when you're doing your homework?
Oh my gosh.
First of all,
Dan
it's a
Mandis.
hammer and chisel.
Hammer and chisel into the tablet. Is that how you did your homework?
Good Lord.
I wrote it. I did my homework and my brother's homework.
Did your parents ride you to school on a brontosaurus?
Oh, my goodness.
Good Lord.
Super texters, help me. Please.
They're going to be very mean to Dan. They will defend Joan with their lives.
I'm going to get killed on this. Anyway.
Yeah.
So was Cliff Notes considered cheating?
Some classes, yes. I remember in college, college was very laid back about it, but in high school, they were very strict about it.
I had no idea you could do that. And how I didn't know that, I don't know.
That's crazy to me.
Joan, was it considered cheating when you were in school? And where you went to school? Because you went to school in Jersey, and we all know that Jersey schools aren't very good.
How many times I went to school? I grew up in South Jersey, the real part of New Jersey.
Anyway, so...
And yes, it was considered cheating. We weren't allowed to do that, but most of us did it anyway.
Yeah.
That's why you ended up in radio, Joan.
That's right.
Had you actually not cheated and done your homework, you would have...
gotten a real career.
Gotten a real job.
Yeah.
Do you know what I did? Have I told? I'm certain I've told this on the air before. I just don't know if I ever... It's been a long time. I wrote answers on my arm.
You did not.
You went old school. You didn't use the hammer and chisel on your arm?
Didn't use the hammer and chisel on my arm, no.
It had your long sleeves and you just pull it up and...
That's what I did.
Wow.
So you went like the old school, like old TV show kind of way of cheating.
I did. That's what I did. Because there were certain things that I just, for whatever reason, I couldn't remember. And so my brother in his infinite wisdom said, why don't you just write the answers on your arm? And so, these were, basic questions that for whatever reason I had a brain block. And so I would write them on my arm.
Did you get caught?
Nope.
So you wrote on the inside of your arm? Did it like smudge on your sleeves?
I had long sleeves on. And so I did that. And I also, when I was in football, I know I've told this story too. When I was in football, I played football for 1 year. I was terrible, but I was really fast. So they were trying to make me into a wide receiver. But I didn't understand football. I just didn't. I didn't understand it.
You didn't understand the plays when they were called to you.
Right.
Like trips right, you don't know what that means.
So I would actually write some plays on my arm as well there. Yeah. And there it did smudge.
So were you, I don't know if you remember this, were you like the X, Y, or Z receiver? Do you know which one you were?
No.
Okay.
I ran down the field and turned in the right way.
You were probably the slot guy. So
whatever. I don't care. Anyway, I mean, but I really did go old school in my cheating. So I see this guy, what he did. I mean, man, I'd never get an education these days if you have all of that technology behind you.
Hey, Dan, you're still short.
What?
Dan, keep your day job.
Oh, you're reading off the
Joan
super text?
still looks younger than Dan.
Oh, that's certainly true.
I didn't know she was going like just how she felt or how the chat felt at the first.
And my favorite, slash his tires, Joan.
Slash my tires and key my car.
Yeah. That'll make me feel better.
When we do our event on March 4th, you got to be very careful what you say about Joan. Because they're going to be live there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's going to be hundreds of defenders of Joan.
Yeah.
In your face.
Somebody bring the football.
People are well danning me, of course, all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Joan 82 rocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Whatever. Anyway. Where are we going? Traffic. You want to do traffic? See?
Okay.
Had I not cheated in school, I would have instinctively known I was supposed to go to traffic at 8:15 on WTN.
Accident-free. I'm Christy O'Brien.
8:16, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. As far as your weather today, it's going to be sunny and a high of 61. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. There's a lot of other ingenious ways to cheat. I mean, like when we were kids, Joan, people would put their answers in a little cheat sheet up in their sleeves, and they'd pull it out.
Yeah.
And you know what always baffled me? It was like the teachers didn't care. That was the surprising thing to me, is that I would sit in the back because I cheated. And so, but why would a teacher not get up and walk up and down the aisles? Like, if you know that your students are prone to cheat, or you know that students, by and large, generally speaking, are prone to cheating, then why wouldn't you walk up and down the aisles to see if you could catch somebody cheating. I'll tell you why.
I know why.
Why?
Well, because they don't care, because they're unionized, and because
Yep.
it goes all the way up to the Department of Education is a federalized body that should be locally centered. Teachers will get paid more, they'll care more, they don't have to be unionized.
Well, yes, all of those things, and the teachers are judged by their students' performance. So if you're a teacher, would you
Pass the
rather
grade.
Yeah, would you rather have your student fail with an F or cheat and get a B? I mean, I know if I was a teacher, I would want accountability for my students, and if he fails, he fails. But the way that I believe it's set up is a teacher is judged on student scores. And so if the kid is cheating and you look the other way, ultimately, does it look better on you as a teacher?
Yeah.
Right?
That's terrible.
I could be wrong, but don't they get like bonuses at the end of the year if their class is like high on like grade scale and that kind of thing?
Oh, I
Aren't
have
there
no
like
idea.
bonuses involved? I could be wrong. That might have been the
I
California thing.
don't think so. Like performance bonuses?
Yeah.
No, but the school gets more money if it's, if you participate in that gold ribbon program, if you're a gold ribbon school, that school will get more funding from the state and from federal government if they've got really high scores. Those teachers are, they get put up on the pedestal.
Dan, you're only cheating yourself. Joe, I know. You know what? I know that I cheated, but I turned out okay.
Yeah, for the most part.
By and large, yeah. Sometimes I say stupid stuff.
You're not an axe murderer.
If I hadn't have cheated, I wouldn't be, what is it? Shankzilla? Shankzilla?
Yeah.
4460. Hey, Dan, since you're so great at guessing ages, how old is Pam Bondi? 60. I think Pam Bondi. I think Pam Bondi is 60.
She does not look like it.
No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't at all. And man, she is so smart. She is amazing. Let's see here. Lisa says, Dan, please don't put all. I didn't. See, this is why I hate doing this.
Please don't what?
Lisa says, please don't put all teachers in the same basket of they don't care. My husband teaches freshmen and does care. Did I say that all teachers?
Nope.
Please understand, friends. We're all friends here, right? Whenever you hear me talk, just understand that I'm almost never. Actually, no, I don't think ever. I don't ever cast a wide net over an entire group of people or an entire profession. I just don't. Not even Democrats, although that one's kind of hard. 820. You think Chris Hand cheated when he was in school? I think Chris is a cheater. I think Chris was a cheater, pumpkin eater, and Chris is probably listening right now, and he's like, oh, yeah.
Well,
I'll ask him. That'll be the first thing I'm going to ask him. Chris, if you're listening, I need two things. Did you cheat? Number one. And number two, I'm going to ask him his favorite Gene Hackman movie.
Good.
So we'll see if he's got a favorite Gene Hackman movie. And that's a big story. We covered that earlier. Gene Hackman, his family as well, his wife and his dog, all found dead in their home. And Gene Hackman, 95 years old. And his wife, did we settle on 64?
64, yes.
64 years old.
Yeah.
So Gene Hackman, the wife and the dog, all found dead in their home. No foul play suspected. And people are trying to figure out what happened. Was it a murder-suicide? I don't know. If they say that no foul play is involved, then I don't know. Maybe there was a gas leak or something and they were overcome. I have no idea.
Carbon monoxide?
Carbon monoxide, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. But what I will say is that man led an incredible life, and what an amazing talent he was. And so we'll talk about that and a whole lot more. 821 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. February's just about done, friends, so you've only got a couple of days left to take advantage of this great deal from my friends at the Glock store, where, you know what? They've got a lot of gunpowder and lead. That's what you find at the Glock store. Now, it is the month of Valentine's Day, and yeah, nothing says love like that gunpowder and lead. Now, you and your significant other, as we continue in the month of February, Valentine's month, you and your significant other can go get a couples training session in their Shoot 270 indoor shooting rooms. You book a couple shooting session at shoot270.com. When you show up, you mention my name, Dan Mandis, and you both get trained for the price of one. Now, remember, this is a private shooting room with a personal instructor, a professional that is going to tailor the session to your current level of shooting expertise. And whatever level you're at, they are going to up your game. Now, remember to book your 2-for-1 Valentine's date at the Glock store, shoot270.com. Mention my name, Dan Mandis, when you get there. The Glock store, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere, shoot270.com.
Steel Bryant.
825, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Listen, if you're thinking about popping the question, Brentwood Jewelry is here to help you. They can help you take the stress out of selecting the perfect engagement ring. They can help you find a beautiful ring in your ideal budget. You can browse their incredible selection of one-of-a-kind rings. They've got a lot. Or you can talk with their custom design specialists to create a stunning ring as remarkable as your loved one. Now, did you know that only 1 in 4 men involves their partner when purchasing an engagement ring? But nearly a third of women say they would rather be there to help pick it out. So if you're thinking about getting engaged, you and your loved one need to get down to Brentwood Jewelry. They will help you find the absolute perfect ring. These folks also at Brentwood Jewelry, they are great Americans. 7012 Church Street East, located in the heart of Brentwood, just off Franklin Road. Exceptional style, exceptional deals every day for over 50 years. Their website, it's a great one, BrentwoodJewelry.com. That's BrentwoodJewelry.com. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 827, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. We've been reporting John Rose has officially announced that he is running for governor. I think there's been basically three names, right? There's been John Rose, who has now officially said that he is running. You've got Senator Marsha Blackburn, who is considering. And there continues to be rumors swirling about with Tim Burchett. So I think those are the only three. There might be some other people. The Kane out there, the mayor of, I think is it Knoxville? And I may have that wrong, but Glenn Jacobs. And so he was talking about running, and then when he found out that Marsha Blackburn was considering a run, he threw his weight behind Marsha Blackburn. So as far as I know, there's only three. And so you've got Marsha Blackburn, John Rose officially now announcing his run for governor, Tim Burchett as well, the congressman. And have we changed the poll?
We have changed the poll. It is official. Who would you vote for governor? John Rose, Marsha Blackburn, Tim Burchett. And Tim Burchett is currently leading right now, and no one has voted for anyone else.
Wow. Well, we just put it up, like within seconds.
Marsha got a vote.
There you go. All right,
back to Burchett.
We're not going to do that. So go and watch us on YouTube and take the Daily Dan poll. Who would you vote for, John Rose, Marsha Blackburn, or Tim Burchett? The only one that has come out and said is John Rose. Can I say this about John Rose? And I'm sure he's going to be on one of the shows today. But it takes some guts. If you're a Republican, it takes some guts knowing that the machine, and this is just how I'm calling this, the Republican machine here in the state of Tennessee clearly wants Marsha Blackburn to be the next governor. I believe that she's got all the money and all that kind of stuff. It takes a lot of guts for somebody like John Rose to say, you know what? I'm going to put my hand up. And I'm going to run for governor as well. And Tim Burchett has not announced it yet. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. Who knows? But you know what? Go take the Daily Dan poll. If the election were held today, who would you vote for? Rose, Blackburn, or Burchett? Find us on YouTube and also like and subscribe to the channel. News is right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's now 8:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Stick around for traffic and weather coming up right after the news. I want to let you know, however, that on 24, the westbound lanes right at Sam Ridley Parkway, and that's exit 66, there's an accident, and it's causing a lot of delay this morning. So be careful in that area. We'll deal more with that in traffic and weather after the news. President Trump is about to flex his art of the deal with Ukraine's president. Volodymyr Zelensky is visiting the White House on Friday.
President Trump announcing that he and Ukraine's President Zelensky will meet face-to-face on Friday to sign what he called a very big agreement. The outline of the agreement establishing a reconstruction investment fund, which would call for Ukraine to share its mineral wealth as a payback for past U.S. aid.
ABC's Martha Raddatz there. President Trump also said Ukraine has no expectation about joining NATO, and he will try as hard as he can to get as much land as possible back from Russia. A proposed constitutional amendment that would allow Tennessee judges to deny bail to defendants charged with the most violent crimes has cleared the House and Senate Judiciary Committees. It would mean that anybody charged with second-degree murder, for instance, or aggravated rape of a child would have to stay in jail while their cases play out. That resolution would need a 2/3 approval before it could be added to the November ballot for voters to consider. A political showdown shaping up yesterday. Tennessee Congressman John Rose announcing he'll throw his hat into the ring to become governor next year. News 2's Elisheva Wembley on the statement from Rose.
The congressman told Republican voters in Williamson County today, quote, "While I'm so excited to serve and be part of implementing President Trump's conservative vision for America, I am convinced my best days are ahead and that the best opportunity I have to serve Tennessee is in a different role."
Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn also expressing an interest in running for governor next year. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 8:32. Dan Mandis here for Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Listen, I can feel summer is coming. Spring, summer is coming. You, in pretty quick time, going to be using that air conditioner. You need to make sure that your air conditioner is going to be working at peak efficiency for maximum comfort. My friends at Busy Bee can do that for you. Now, I've been a Beehive member for over 10 years, and this is a company that is going to treat you right. They're going to make sure that you are running at peak efficiency for maximum comfort. Every single month, they have ways to save you money. So right now, here in the month of February, as we wrap up February, heading into March, but last couple of days of this great deal from Busy Bee, get a free air duct cleaning when you buy a new, complete, whole home AC or HVAC. So again, great deals from Busy Bee. When you become a Beehive member, you're saving money in the long run because basically what you're doing is you're maintaining your HVAC over the long haul. And that means that you are going to be saving money because you are maintaining your unit along the way. That is what being a Beehive member is all about. Again, I've been one for 10 years. So call them. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-775-7833. 615-775-7833. BusyBeeHVAC.com.
On 24, the westbound side, an accident reported just before Sam Ridley Parkway, exit 66. And then it's slow going all the way into Nashville this morning after that spot. Now, also this morning on in a crash involving injuries in the Nations at 46th Avenue North at Georgia Avenue. Got an accident as well in Hermitage, Andrew Jackson Parkway at Old Lebanon Dirt Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 8:35 on Nashville's Morning News. Hey, Chris, wait till you hear what I'm going to talk to Joan about coming up.
Uh-oh.
I can't wait. It's all straight ahead.
Be careful. I saw her with that butterfly knife back there.
All right. Dan Mandis here for my friends at Zero Res. You know, I used to worry about the chemicals that carpet cleaning companies used on my carpets. That is why I started using Zero Res years ago. I've been a client for a long time now. At Zero Res, they clean your carpets with powered water, no harsh chemicals, no soap, and no residue. It is safe for my kids and my pets and yours too. Now, that is why I use Zero Res, and thousands of other people do as well. Now, the science behind Zero Res and their water cleaning agents is much healthier than using those soaps and detergents that those other companies use. That is the Zero Res difference, and that's why I've been a customer for years. Now, using Zero Res is also going to help with smelly carpet and your allergies as well. Now, right now, Zero Res has a great deal just for you. Listen, it is spring cleaning time, friends. Call Zero Res right now for the month of February. Couple more dates, a couple more days here that this is valid. 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for $109. 3 rooms of carpets cleaned, $109. $50 off of air duct cleaning as well. Restrictions may apply. Call them for the Dan deal, 615-535-9376. 615-535-9376. Book online, ZeroResNashville.com. $8:37, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Time for the Crisscross featuring Chris Hand. Hello, Chris.
What's up? How are you?
I'm all right. KGB's here. Joan's here. I'm here.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Joan.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that last newscast.
Jeez.
Why is that, Dan?
You know why. You know why. Did you really don't know why I'm congratulating you on that newscast?
No.
Should I do this, Chris? Because I just told Chris off the air what I was going to do.
I think now you have to.
I do, don't I?
You have to. You can't. You got to have a payoff.
You've been struggling with that reporter's name all morning
long.
And you finally...
I finally nailed it.
You nailed it.
Thanks
I even said to Jeff off the air, I said, she nailed it. She finally got it. Congratulations, Joan. Last newscast.
What was the reporter's name, Joan?
Her name is Elisheva Wembley. Elisheva Wembley.
How do you spell that?
E-L beats me. How's that?
Well, the funny thing was, like, and Joan, everybody knows I butcher stuff all the time, so I'm not throwing rocks.
You? No.
So
I butcher names so often. I'm like, yeah, that wasn't right, but I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
No, when I do
the way to do it.
When I do newscasts, if I mess something up, I'm just going, no, sell it. Don't sell it.
Keep going.
Look, if you don't have a simple name like Joan Jones, like change it.
See that? Okay.
Is Malinoff okay?
Malinoff is fine.
Not really.
That's why we call you KGB. So, but yeah, there was a time in radio, you guys all remember this, where if you had a name like Elisheva, then they're going to tell you to change your name to Lisa or whatever. You know what I mean? Something easy. But now, exotic sells.
Yes, it does.
Have you noticed that? Exotic sells. There's a woman on Fox News. I've talked about her before. Aisha Husney.
Yes.
Ooh.
Now, the only way that I know how she says her name is because, believe it or not, I worked with her in Fort Wayne, Indiana years ago.
You did not.
I did.
Wow.
Do you know Aisha? Have you seen her work?
No,
Yeah,
but I have seen her work, and I think she's terrific.
She is amazing.
Yeah.
She does terrific work. And I knew her when she was just a lowly news anchor for radio.
My
For radio.
God.
Man, no, she's on Fox News now. I'm just saying.
Dan, we might have to put you on timeout. That was
that too much? Was that too much?
Yeah.
What's HR's number
You're
again?
gonna have to go lonely or lowly.
You know what the great thing is about this company is HR is like all the way in another state now, so it doesn't
just
matter.
send them recordings.
It's a
2 seconds later, a boot goes through that door.
Listen, it's a long distance call, so you're not going to be able to do it. Whatever. Anyway. So yeah, I mean,
Is that a thing anymore?
there used to be
Elisheva Wembley.
there used to be
Wembley.
a thing where we would all have simple names.
Yeah.
So Chris Hand is your real name, right? So
would I be like Jeff Smith?
Well, nobody would make up a name like Malinoff, so obviously that's your real name. Joan, I didn't.
That is my actual name.
That is your actual name.
My given
Joan
name.
Jones.
Yep. I tried to get everybody tried to get my parents to change my name when I was young. My grandmother was going to pay them to please change my name.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just why?
They didn't. My parents had a thing about J's, so it's Jean, John, Joan, and Jim. That's our names.
Oh,
yeah, but Jean could be with a G.
It's true.
But
fact check true.
If she was a guy.
Do you know I started doing that at home?
What, fact check true?
Fact check true.
Oh.
I'll be in the middle of a conversation with Amy, and I'll say something or she'll say something that I at least believe is true. And she'll say, really? And I'll say, fact check true. And you know what she says? Stop listening to Chris Hand.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's a fair statement.
Please listen.
So I want to know if Chris Hand can identify, need some audio, can identify this Gene Hackman movie. Now, KGB and Joan, y'all know what this is.
Yeah.
I say Chris will not be able to identify this movie.
I can fact check true because Chris Hand couldn't identify another movie that I asked him about.
All right,
I know
KGB,
he's not.
do you think that Chris Hand will be able to identify the movie that I'm about to play?
Based on the year it came out, no.
Definitely not.
Here we go. Gene Hackman. And this is one of my favorite movies from Gene Hackman.
We didn't ask you to fight for us. But damn it, don't fight against us. Leave us alone.
You know what that movie is?
I have no idea.
Poseidon Adventure.
Poseidon Adventure?
That's my all-time
Now,
favorite
have you ever seen it?
Gene Hackman movie.
To be fair, I haven't seen it either.
That's your all-time favorite Gene Hackman movie?
I know. It's crazy, isn't it? But it started what year was that? Did that come out?
72, I think, and Superman came out in 78.
Okay, so 1972. Obviously, I didn't see it in theaters. but because I was 5. But I mean, that started me down a lifelong obsession with tidal waves. No, it did. But if you don't know it, friends,
Like a
if you don't know
fear or enjoying it?
just a fascination with them. And I don't think there's ever been like an actual big tidal wave kind of a thing like you see in the movies.
Like a tsunami?
Yeah, like a tsunami.
In the middle of the ocean kind of thing? Or, I mean,
I don't think there's been have you seen Poseidon Adventure?
Yes.
Okay, so you
no
know.
waves in the ocean. Fact check true.
But monster waves like that, yeah, they happen all the time.
That would push an entire ship over onto its side and then upside down.
Have you seen the shows about when people go deep in the ocean for like crabs and fish for crabs and stuff? That happens very often.
I've seen The Perfect Storm.
There you go. That
Fat
was
check
real.
true.
That was a good movie.
Yeah.
Fact check true.
Tell you what.
Okay.
So
I need the 3 of you to focus on what I'm saying.
Sorry.
There was a big wave in that movie.
In
the
real
seas
life,
were angry that day,
Did
too.
you want me? Hey, Chris, you want me to play some audio from your favorite Gene Hackman movie?
Hold on, just 2 seconds. Are there big waves in the ocean that would knock a big cruise liner upside down?
It's worth a Google.
Yes or no?
Mine was based on a true, like those crab, like on Discovery Channel, when they go out to the deep in the ocean to like get crabs and fish and stuff, they have huge waves where they
Yeah,
hit
but those
that-
are little. Those are like
Those
crab
are
boats.
No, those are big guys. They
Oh,
have,
really?
Yeah, they have huge anchors. They're pretty big.
Nah, whatever. All right, go. So let's move on because clearly I'm not going to get an answer to my question. So
there are waves in the ocean.
Joan,
There's huge waves in the ocean.
Joan, play your audio bite for Chris of your favorite.
Unfortunately, I already told him, but yeah, I'll play it again.
1 second. Murphy just texted me. He wanted you to know that there was a tsunami that killed 220,000 people.
I know that. But it was.
But did it flip a ship? Is what he wants to know.
There's the kind of tidal waves that like rush in, like
they're called
the water
rogue
rushes
waves.
in. Yeah, but I'm talking about like a 75 or 100 foot big wave of water. That's what I'm talking. Does the Poseidon Adventure wave happen in real life? That's all I want to know, people. That's all I want to know.
In billions of years that the Earth has been around, I'm pretty sure yes.
Do you want to know the best tidal wave movie ever? It wasn't Poseidon Adventure. Do you know what it was? It was San Andreas. You ever see San Andreas?
No.
Of course not.
No.
It was with The Rock. He probably
Yeah, The Rock. And they have a great tidal wave scene in that movie. You folks that have seen San Andreas.
I played GTA San Andreas on the PS2.
Amen to that, brother.
That's a good one.
That's the goat right there.
That's the classic.
Why do I feel like people are saying, okay, so 1844 says, yes, rogue waves. 6048 says, please look at the link I sent you.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't
do it.
ChatGPT says modern cruise ships are designed to handle large waves with reinforced hulls and stabilizers.
Okay, very good.
Just like the Titanic.
See, I've seen all of these massive.
Titanic had a
I know. I used
Say
that example.
a single wave completely flipping a massive cruise liner is highly unlikely.
No,
Not impossible.
People are sending me. We got to move on. People are sending me video of tsunamis, but it's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like you saw in Poseidon Adventure or San Andreas, where you've got like big, massive 500-foot waves that come crashing onto the land. That's what I'm talking about. Why am I stuck on this? Please, somebody else say something.
Well,
This is your
we love to
show.
listen to you struggle, like you love listening to me struggle with the girl's name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. All right. So, did you have a favorite Gene Hackman movie?
No.
No.
If I had to
Do
vote,
you know
if
who
I-
Gene Hackman is?
I Googled him when I got in, and I went,
Yeah.
oh, he played Lex Luthor in Superman. I know that guy.
There you go. Okay.
But I feel like we spend way too much time on Gene Hackman, and nobody's acknowledging Harriet the Spy died. Nobody?
Right.
Ooh.
So
The chick from Gossip
we
Girl
know-
and Buffy the Vampire
right,
Slayer.
right, right.
Michelle
She was only
Trachtenberg?
39.
Yeah.
That's a name for you, Joan. Say it one more time.
Trachtenberg? Michelle Trachtenberg?
Trachtenberg.
Is that it?
Do
Are
know-
you making fun of me?
Was there a cause of death for that, Chris? Did you?
Not yet.
I heard that she had a faulty liver.
Liver. Yeah.
She had a
liver issue.
liver transplant.
Oh.
So yeah, it may have been something to do with
Yeah.
that.
And do you know what I heard in my house when we heard that she had passed away?
Mm-mm.
Oh no. Like Amy was a big fan of hers.
Yeah.
So I've never heard of her. Just like you haven't heard of Gene Hackman.
Pretty sure he's heard of Gene Hackman in the past.
No, he just said he had to Google it when he got to work.
But what he
I couldn't remember.
Since he knows,
I didn't know if it was Gene Autry or Gene Hackman. I didn't know which Gene it was that played Lex
Chris
Luthor.
is just trolling, clearly.
Definitely.
Chris is evil sometimes.
Mean-spirited son of a gun.
I had no idea.
All right, Chris, you got anything for this? Because clearly you're not helping.
I do.
Any way, shape, or
I sent
form.
it to your. Open up your
did?
Twitter DMs. I sent you some audio. I got two politicians, or one politician and a host from The View. Did you hear what Sunny Hostin said about diversity, equity, and inclusion?
No,
what
now? Telling.
Listen, this is like deep thoughts with Sunny Hostin. She said.
I've got the audio.
She said, when I hear somebody who's against diversity and equity and inclusion, do you know what it really means?
When I hear someone say, I'm against diversity, equity, and inclusion, it gives me great pause because it makes me feel that you don't want diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the Republican Party and the conservatives have done a great job of bastardizing that term. And I think it needs to be retaken and explained.
Good luck with that.
Are we allowed to have that? Like when she said that, are we allowed to have that
What
on
did
the
she
air?
say?
Bastardized?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
You didn't say that.
Then I prematurely hit the dump button. Be able to be safe than sorry in that case. I didn't know.
Okay. Do you think Chris would bring something to the table that had to be dumped?
Yes.
Maybe a time or
Not
two.
even a second thought.
Maybe a time or
Dan.
two. Maybe a time or two.
I mean, listen. I can't be the only host that I've had to dump myself.
Yeah.
You know,
We've had multiple clips where we had to dump it.
So
I've had to dump my own, like something that I've said.
Oh.
I've had to dump myself. I actually cursed on the air once, twice.
So I heard the Sunny Hostin clip, and I said that's the dumbest thing I've heard all day.
Yeah.
And then I came across what Mayor Eric Adams said.
Yep. Let's listen to Mayor Eric Adams and 3, 2, 1.
So this is a biblical moment. You know, when Jesus was on the cross, he said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. All these Negroes who are asking me to step down, God, forgive them.
No way.
Everybody's pretty upset.
Is that the whole clip?
Oh, goodness.
That's the clip.
Okay.
So he compares himself to Jesus.
Yep.
And he uses a term that is frowned upon these days.
Now, are people yelling at him because they're angry, or are they...
I feel like it was a mixed bag. I feel like people were yelling at him because they were angry, and people were yelling because they supported him. You heard some clapping in the background as well.
Was that at a church? It sounded like it was at like a
Oh, that would have
church.
been worse if it was at a church.
I mean, honestly, doesn't it sound like he was whipping up a church crew?
It looks like there's a Presbyterian church flag or something on his left side.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm not
And
surprised.
the American flag on his right.
That is...
So...
Black Jesus.
There's a word for that. Blasphemy.
Blasphemous?
Yeah.
Yep. We can say that, by the way, Jeff.
Yeah.
No dumping there.
You don't need to dump that.
That's absurd. I might want to dump that whole clip just because it's so
You know
crazy.
the funny thing though is like he just sounds like a dope when he does that, and he said stuff. You know, the frustrating thing is he said good things before. Like there are times when he makes sense, and then there's that time.
Yeah. What?
So-
Just quiet down.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he's in a good spot right now. If he just avoided the press.
Yes, he needs. Well, he needs to avoid situations where he sticks his foot in his mouth. Like, for example, when I was talking about tsunamis and do they actually exist, I feel like I have to clarify that entire thing.
Dan, at least
faker than birds, Dan. Faker than birds.
Dan, you didn't compare yourself to Jesus. I think you're okay here.
No, I understand that. I know tsunamis exist. I know tsunamis have killed hundreds of thousands of people. I'm talking about, has anybody ever seen a wave like you see in San Andreas or Poseidon Adventure? That's what I want to know.
You're talking about like on the water, not a...
Either on the water or coming onto land. The kind of things you see in movies. That's what I want to know.
Probably not for a long time. It may have happened in the prehistoric times, like legitimately, but maybe not now.
Well, what about the one, I mean, that Alaska one?
I don't.
Is the
That
one
was-
that killed two? I want to know the one that.
Yeah, that was way back
that
when.
Matt was talking about.
There's no video of that, I don't think.
He said it was the Indian Ocean in 2004.
I know that one. What? I just move on.
But while,
Chris, what's coming up
while
next?
a couple 100,000 people were killed, no boats were flipped, Dan. And we it's the silver lining, I think. Is it too soon to make a joke about that from 2004?
The frustrating thing is that I'm explaining it perfectly, and you people just aren't catching on.
Definitely it's us.
What do you mean, you people?
And now what you're trying to do is put me on the defensive by saying that
Your face is
I'm
red.
a tsunami denier, and I'm not. I'm asking.
Oh my gosh. Can I introduce Dan at March 4th as the tsunami denier, Dan Mandis?
There are many things that we call Dan.
We added a new one.
We have a new one.
Anyway, moving right along. Was that movie 2012? Remember that? No, it wasn't 2012. What was the movie? Oh, who did it? Where the world was ending and they had big tsunamis come.
It was like the day after tomorrow.
The day after. Yeah, things like that's what I'm asking. My voice is going up because I'm annoyed now and I'm feeling myself start to perspire.
I think
so let's just
you
move
can
on.
do some homework today. Figure it
Yes.
out.
Thank you, Joan.
Report on this tomorrow for us all.
You know what I wish for you, Joan? I wish for more exotic sounding news anchors in your future. I'm just kidding. All right, Chris, what do you got coming up?
All right, well, Epstein info, is that going to come today? I'm taking it with a mound of salt. Plus, we have accountability coming for the Afghanistan disaster and Doge updates.
All right, very good. Thank you. Dan Mandis here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm sorry, what commercial am I supposed to be reading?
You're done. We're
Am
done
I
with
done
it.
with
Yeah.
commercials?
Yeah.
All of those tsunamis have caused a tidal wave in the brain.
You mean I could have struggled to explain my tsunami denial for another 60 seconds?
Please, Lord, no.
I mean, I think we've already covered it.
Moving right along, we'll return next on WTN. 8:59, Nashville's Morning News. Joan, the best thing about that last segment is I came in going after you, and by the time it was over, you three and Murphy
You were
and
swallowed by a
99% of the listeners were coming after me as a tsunami denial. That's how this program works.
I can't believe we have a tsunami denier.
We're going to
In
have
our
that for a while.
presence, yeah.
Unbelievable.
You know, one guy did say, BC says, in Dan's defense, I've never seen any gigantic waves that are shown on TV. That's all I'm saying.
Joe said, you being a tsunami denier is as bad as Murphy saying Tim Ford's Lake. Also, what would Murphy know about waves? I haven't seen any tsunamis on Tim Ford's Lake.
No, have not. Oh, we got to go. By the way, did you cheat in school, yes or no?
No.
You didn't?
No. I just didn't do anything.
Okay.